All right, chat. Welcome in. Welcome in. The REMINGTOM pod is live. We are here week 5 of the NFL. It's treating us well, chat. Hey, yo. Of course, we are out of September. Does that mean the real football has started? I mean, it's important for some teams. We'll definitely get to that here shortly. But of course, we're live during the late window right now. Chargers versus Commanders, I guess, is the primetime game. So the Chargers right now making their way down the field on their opening drive. Herbert ripping off like a 50-yard run on a third down to keep the drive alive, and it seems like they're doing pretty good so far to start. And of course, you know, it's mattering other games, which I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we'll get some drama, chat. Hey, yo, it is the NFL. You know, it's gonna find a way to manage somehow. I guess. I guess, you know, if all else fails, we could just go over to that Seattle Tampa Bay game. Just the visual of that game with the jersey matchup today, the throwback jerseys, the throwback Seattle, the throwback Tampa Bay jerseys. Of course, it is just gonna be but a very aesthetically, a jersey aesthetic pleasing. It's a fun matchup to watch. I don't know, but even if I guess the football is of course not that great, but I guess Commanders, Chargers not that bad. I guess the Chargers doing a lot of heavy lifting there for the jersey side of things, and of course they're not really rocking anything crazy special. Are the Charger powder blue jerseys kind of like LeBron, of course, I was gonna say, do we need to update the LeBron reference of the 28, the consistent stat line, the consistent greatness stat line reference from LeBron and somebody else? I mean, no disrespect to LeBron, I just, is it a reference, like, is it just one of those things that we need to turn over the reference every 5-10 years to make sure, just to update just because? And, I guess in an NFL standpoint, we could probably use NFL guys as well too. I mean, the Josh Allen, the Lamar Jackson, of course, could be the obvious one to put in the mix. The Jonathan Taylor, chat, just from a fantasy standpoint, maybe that's the McCaffrey as well too. If we're talking actual fantasy, I mean, there's defensive. I guess we could really, maybe even some offensive linemen. The Quentin Nelson, chat. Who's more consistent than Quentin? Maybe the past. If we're just going the past 5 or 10 years or so, the Trent Williams, that's what we should be. That's what we should have been calling it, chat. If a guy's just out there just dominating every week, it's the Trent Williams. But are the Charger powder blues the 28-7-7 of jersey at this point? Do we just watch them and all the just like, okay, it is what it is? We're just numb to the greatness of the Chargers jerseys, but it is what it is. At least they get 3 points on this opening drive, and it's the return of Daniels as well too. So we know that we kind of liked what we saw. I mean, hot take. We kind of like what we saw from Daniels early on in the season. But again, that Packers game wasn't necessarily the greatest overall, results game. And the first game against the Giants, of course, was a little bit feisty as well too. We're waiting to see what the Giants are going to become as a team at that point. And of course, they're totally different now that the quarterback has changed. But the actual offense with Daniels getting some rhythm now, of course, with him returning from injury, is a possibility. And they did look good with Mariota at quarterback is the thing. So I know that maybe the defense is still, keep an eye on that. It is what it is. I don't know if that's the Daniels effect of he's able to, of course, overcome a little bit more of those deficiencies than Mariota is. But again, from a general keep the offense relevancy of the team, they were having good performances. And I know the Raiders, with the Colts as well too. That was a pretty dominant game, a pretty one-sided game for Indy. But again, with the backup quarterback, there is still a version. Like, did the Bengals play the Raiders with Browning? I feel like that is a matchup that has happened here recently. I guess the Bengals, of course, are playing the Lions right now. Let's double check our guy Browning here, chat, and let's double check his recent opponents. I guess Jacksonville, Minnesota, in Denver. So I don't know, maybe the Raiders are on the schedule as one of the upcoming teams. But is Browning gonna have an awesome performance against the Raiders and put up 40 plus points? He might, chat. You never know. I mean, obviously Caleb Williams had a decent day against the Raiders as well too. And the Chargers going for chat. We're balancing the red zone, and we got the second feed, of course, with the actual game feed on as well too. So I was assuming that they were just kicking a field goal, I guess. But they're going for the extra point after the touchdown. It is what it is. So shout out to the Chargers for putting up 6 on the board. McConkey getting some fantasy points. Chat. It's been a little bit of a slow start for him. Of course, Keenan Allen has looked good for him early on in the season, but you imagine that over the course of, an entire schedule, and obviously Quentin Johnson as well too, has looked really good. But you imagine over the course of a schedule that maybe McConkey's abilities would win out at some point here as well too. So, I mean, but not to say that Keenan Allen would have a good year, but also just, again, him being a little bit older as well too. You never know if there's going to be some durability things or, again, good start to the season. As the season goes on, maybe it gets a little bit more difficult. Or, the stamina of old guys, chat. Hey, yo. We know, I don't know, we need to get Keenan Allen on some I don't know. But, I mean, regardless, the Chargers are up 6-0 here. So, yeah, right away, Daniels with some pressure to respond to what's going on. And looking at the kickoff into the stands, right behind the uprights, it is, 50-50 might be generous. It might be 60-40. I don't know if it's quite 70-30 in that. Well, that's why we're looking at it. But it could be an AO chat. Just even looking at, just the outro B-roll on the game in the, the shots of the players, and you can see the stands in the back. A lot of Commanders jerseys, I guess is the point. A lot of Washington fans look like they're there. It could be, I mean, hot take, the Chargers opposing fans are going to outnumber the home team, but, it could be another scenario where it's looking pretty bad for the home crowd. So, maybe there is a little less pressure in this game, specifically on the road. But yeah, Browning, like you said, versus the Lions, this could be tough, chat. This could be tough. It's 3rd and 10 early. You never know. I mean, this could be the drama. Browning could just have one of his random games where Browning threw for 320 yards and a couple touchdowns. Maybe there's even a couple picks in there as well too. But it's Goff fumble. Hendrickson gets in there, gets a fumble on Goff. Something crazy happens, and then all of a sudden they're hanging around. But at least 3rd and 10 early on. I don't know. We want to get this game out of the red zone. Hey, yo, I feel like the red zone's going to be showing this game quite a bit. It's this is the way to get us to sign up for Sunday Ticket, chat, is to just keep showing us Jake Browning versus the Lions. Actually, you got to go in and pay for the rest of the games. But so far, I mean, like I said, we'll keep an eye on Commanders versus Chargers as well too. What was the final one? Titans versus Cardinals is the 4th game in the late window here, though. Arizona looking like they're gonna step on the gas early, and I guess with Arizona, this is a little bit of the the formula. We'll see how they're able to, of course, end the game as well too. But the Titans might be, they might be one of those teams, chat. Hey, yo, it is what it is. It might be a little bit of a get right game for Arizona, and that's another one where we're sort of still trying to figure out how good they are. Are they actually good? Is it, I guess average? Where do they actually fall in the rankings? And at least them, really having a dominant performance. Maybe it is just a tier separation thing in the NFL. The talent wealth gap, chat. Hey, yo. Yeah, I don't know if it's just the divide in the NFL against some of these, the lower end teams is just crazy. But, maybe that's more proof of Titans than Arizona. I guess we'll just, we'll have to see what happens in that one there. But Minnesota, chat, in London, another international game, against the Browns. And unfortunately for Dylan Gabriel, unfortunately for Shador, I don't know what the right phrase is there, because again, we can be honest, chat. We're biased. I mean, we're not Browns fans, so it just becomes, what I guess players match up. It just becomes biased about the things we want to see. I mean, we want to see good football as well too. So I guess them being successful, / good, to some degree, again, it's just the quality of performance. But in terms of individual players we want to see play, we want to see Shador play. I don't know if that's again a super hot take. Maybe it is at this point. Who knows? But again, maybe for Browns fans, obviously they're just more concerned with finding a guy. So, unfortunately, the Vikings were able to drive the field at the end of this game, and the defense, unfortunately gave it up a little bit. And they did end up not getting the win. But Gabriel did look comfortable. And again, that's a difficult spot. You got your first home game is in London, chat. It's not great. I don't know, Cleveland fans, if they'd be super excited for home games at this point, but at least there'd be a little of new interest with the new quarterback starting. And I guess 19 for 33 is, it's okay on the completion percentage whatever, 190 is. Yeah, still not crazy on the yards, but still pretty efficient, good, quick decision making, and Flacco a little turnover prone as well over the last couple of games. I know, at least at times he's able to get the offense going up and down the field, but again, he is a little bit chaotic, and this game was definitely a little less chaotic in a way with Dylan Gabriel. Again, he's still a younger guy, and the Vikings defense with Flores is still able to do creative things to throw him off his game. But he did look really composed, and it did look like, oh yeah, this is actually a good move, and there is, of course, and in the preseason as well too, Shador had that really good was it a half? Was it a game? I don't even remember. He had a couple of good plays there against the Panthers. It's like, we'll lock him in for the starter at this point. We don't even need to watch the preseason anymore. Like, we don't need to watch Shador be bad in the preseason because we've already seen him be good. So that's all that counts. But Gabriel was consistent as well too, and again, we weren't just focused on him, so it wasn't. We weren't going into the season be like, oh yeah, Gabriel far and away QB2 on this roster. And who knows, maybe we put Shador in this game, his stats are kind of similar. And the Judkins, like, they are finding some run game as well too. But, again, Gabriel kind of just settling the offense down a little bit did seem like a good move for the next couple of weeks for them to maybe actually, and who knows if he is a 10-year starter franchise guy. I feel like, he did fall in the draft, of course. I guess a little bit of, there's, I guess, maybe some height stuff with him. I don't know. But he was one of those guys that just because of the toughness and the production and stuff, I guess football IQ, just the great guy metric, chat, he was one of those people that you're like, okay, he's at least going to be, in locker rooms for a decade hanging around. And if he does get on the field, and if the height stuff doesn't really matter, then he can actually, I think, be a really productive player. Like, I don't know if, early Dylan Gabriel versus early Bryce Young, if we're just comparing, short quarterbacks. And I don't know, Gabriel's team right now compared to Bryce Young's team he had in the first couple of games there, if it was, a little bit better for Gabriel. The defense, at least, again, outside of the last drive, is still able to, create some stuff more so than, the defenses that Bryce Young has had. But regardless, again, there was a comfortability that he displayed that, early on is just encouraging for any young quarterback anywhere. So it could be that, again, the newness factor as well too. You don't really know what you're game planning for if you are the Vikings as much as it is, Dylan Gabriel. Again, I guess it's not like he was able to like super capitalize on that and just go crazy in this game. But again, maybe, a couple weeks in, we'll see as the schemes mix up how he's able to respond to that. But Flores would be one of the ones, especially if you're not, again, even, I guess, knowing what Gabriel would be able to produce, he would be able to have a good game plan to be able to stop him. Chat, we might have to fight off the feds to watch this Chargers versus Commanders game. It is what it is. Patel was at the fight last night. They showed him on the cam, and they were like, always good to have him. We were like, well, I guess maybe for a couple people, but I guess Dana White probably is a fan. But I feel like the cheers in the stadium were a little quiet. But I guess, I don't know. The offices are locked in, chat. Thought maybe at least the live streams they'd let go. You never know. But I guess that would probably not be the number one draft pick as well, too, if we were choosing. But, we would, I think, take a second to think about it and be like, oh, yeah, there are probably a couple other things that we could fix before that. But, I guess if we could go down the list, it would eventually pop up. But I guess for now, maybe we'll not have too much of an issue firing it back up. So I don't know why this is all of a sudden just a square now, and it's like we're watching an old school broadcast. But I like it. I mean, they got old school highlights on right now, so maybe it is because of that. But I guess we'll accept it for now because the other one is red zone, of course. We're locked in. Normal there. So, Goff early, 6 for 6, chat, 83 yards. Cincinnati defense, of course, not going to necessarily be one of those defenses that, if they were able to, I guess, generate a little pressure early, then it would get interesting. But because of course, how good the Lions' offensive line is, it does seem like it would be still difficult for them to do. And did the AEO chat, it's like, who just threw that pass for the Titans? Was that a receiver? I still don't even know. I thought he took the snap. It wasn't Cam Ward. Is Cam Ward playing, chat? Ayo, did they bench Cam Ward? or were they showing the receiver walking off there? I mean, shout out to the Arizona secondary for getting stopped. The Lions, 106 total yards in the first quarter, chat. Can they put up 200 yards? Is there enough yards left? I guess there's not, almost 90 yards left on the field. But they could get the ball back. Also, there's the pressure, chat. Hey, yo. And maybe there's the fumble as well, too. So, again, you could have a good, successful game for the Lions moving the ball down the field. And a couple of these random plays, if the Bengals offense were able to capitalize, then it could potentially be a feisty game. But I think we also trust the Lions defense as well, too, to get stops. And maybe that is a little bit of a look at Zach Taylor as well. I know it starts to become a little unfair to be like, okay, how well are you game planning with your backup quarterback? But there is a general, are you putting your guys in spots to be the most successful? Oh, are they going to get Hendrickson on a penalty? He did, put a hand on Jared Goff's helmet. I don't know, Chad. Hey, yo. I mean, it's not like he necessarily... He was going for the football. The football was on the other side of the way that Hendrickson was rushing. So as he's going around Goff to swipe at the football, he kind of swipes the back of his helmet as well, too. Can they call that in the booth review? Oh, chat. That would be tough. I don't know what the rules are. Pause. The quarterback, the most protected guy ever. It is what it is. But we'll see if in a review situation, if anything crazy like that is able to happen. But Hendrickson getting to the quarterback early, at least being disruptive. It's close. I guess we were looking more there, distracted by, the helmet contact. But it did look like it was kind of on the borderline there for Goff having a fumble. There was a Bo Nix play early in the game against the Eagles where he did have a similar fumble, and I think they did call it a fumble as well too. So I don't know if it's the same sort of motion compared to that. But Herbert moving the ball back up and down the field again early. Johnson on the end around, chat. Hey, yo, they get the first down. I don't know if that's his first touch of the game so far, but the Chargers now getting closer to the red zone with a chance to go up 14-0. And, Daniel's working his way back from injury. I don't know if it's fair to compare him to I guess Mariota versus Atlanta as well, too. I don't know if that's Atlanta's in a little bit of a different tier than the Chargers. Of course, I think the Chargers, at their best, we expect them to be, they look like they could definitely be one of the best teams in the league, for sure. But, the Commanders at least hanging in a tier, around with them would be, nice for them, at least if they were trying to pursue a playoff spot this year, because they did win a game there, so they stayed at 500 right now, 2-2 in this one. And I guess I don't know what the Cowboys are 2-1 now. So if we're just going in their own division, obviously the Eagles, 4-1, but still regular season. I think overall we expect them to be, overall okay. But I guess to talk about the rest of this Vikings versus Browns game as well too. Addison 5 for 41. He did have the game-winning touchdown, and we mentioned in the last live stream the fantasy draft that we did about a month into the season. Somebody just randomly started up a new league, and we were like, okay, well, I guess so. But the Addison fell a little bit in the draft, of course, 1 week back from the suspension, and also, just a little bit of, or was it injury? I don't remember. It just said suspension. Hey, yo, it is what it is. But also with the injury to McCarthy, not that McCarthy is, the fantasy guy, but they're just the uncertainty at quarterback there. Like, is Wentz going to be the fantasy guy for the team? And then we're saying when McCarthy returns, are they going to be able to keep up that same sort of production as well, too? But Addison is just a good receiver, and Wentz can, from a fantasy standpoint, he can get these guys productive, and he's feeding Jefferson. Of course, Jefferson not really able to get a touchdown in this one, but having Addison back and just having the complete weapon of guys as well too is going to help. And I don't know if that is a good point for I almost call him Puka Nacua in the receiver conversation, where I don't know if he has the number 2 like Addison. But Stafford is also a much better quarterback as well, too. So would you rather have Addison in the receiving game, or would you rather have Stafford in the passing game? I think you'd probably rather have Stafford. and Williams and McVay, the whole off. I guess McConnell, we obviously give him credit as one of the best coaches in the league, but I don't know if their run game is quite on the level of what the Rams are able to do with Kyren Williams. So, overall, it does seem like the Rams offense is a little bit of a step up, but just the ability for the individual receiver to continue to produce as well. Just like a little, can we feed this guy, and what is this rest of the core, look around him like? It does, and I mean, I think everybody, like we're saying, benefits for having better guys around him as well too. But the Jefferson boost is a little bit obvious, and maybe Nakua as well. I don't want to, and again, Stafford, McVay, a very comfortable situation. But I don't know if we have seen the drama as well. So I don't, is that part of the, and I guess, we were just throwing that word around loosely. Yeah, Jefferson, we're just bad at, the dictionary, pause. But, But, again, we still trust Jefferson's talent, even if the receiving core is a little bit weaker like that. If you had to, if you had the Puka Nacua-like game, then we would still believe in him and his ability to do it. But his, again, maybe mental state as well, too, when the offense is not quite fully functioning and everything's not perfect, and his ability to just be locked in and continue producing good plays when the environment is not quite ideal is, obviously not unique to the receiver position, but maybe Nacua also is able to elevate out of that as well too. So again, we'd have to see Nacua with Jake Browning, I guess, before we really, or I guess, if Stafford goes down, but they do have Garoppolo as well. Is that the McVay thing? But Garoppolo versus Wentz, if Garoppolo was on the Niners and Wentz was on the Rams, I guess Wentz was on the Rams as well. They let him go to the Niners, or they let him go to the Vikings. But and maybe we said San Francisco as well too a couple times in there. But I think that would be, I think Garoppolo would be a little bit better than Wentz, and we're also just pro Garoppolo here as well too. And with Wentz's Colts run, I don't know if we're necessarily pro Wentz as well. Herbert sacked on third down, chat. The Commanders' defense is going to get a stop, going to get off the field. And I guess Darnold early on as well, too. Seattle is down 6-0. Is that 2 field goals from Tampa? But the little rollout there, able to pick up the first down on extending the play. Oh, chat. They're going to get a field goal attempt here. Dicker the kicker for, I guess we don't have a yardage here. But, that Chargers, of course, they have one of the bigger center field logos. So I don't know if that, throws off your perception of where they're at on the field. But I think they are pretty close to the midfield. Oh, Chad. It's going to be a battle. It is what it is. Hey, yo. We're just locked in on this Dan Campbell Applebee's commercial. But I think we want to get back to the actual game itself. Do we try a new one, chat? We may have to see. Hey, yo. And I don't know if the airplay helps or hurts. I guess the airplay probably doesn't matter on our end. But Tampa! Did they get the interception while we were trying to mess with the live stream? With the feed? They may have a fumble? What just happened? Was that with Milroe? Were they trying to run an option play with Milroe and he just threw it behind Kenneth Walker? Oh, chat, that stream was definitely not the right choice. Hey, yo. It is what it is. The NFL one, definitely more. I mean, I guess we're not going to start snitching on, which sports are good and bad to watch this way. But, the NFL, definitely one of the more locked in. That's for sure. But speaking of turnovers, chat, oh no, the Titans as well may have just had one of their own. Is that Pollard? That's not even Cam Ward. If it's Cam Ward, it's just like, oh, I guess that's just the rookie season. But Pollard, the veteran player, the supposedly, I guess, consistent part of the offense, is a little bit concerning when that starts to go a different way as well, too. So Kyler with good field position here, a little check down to Trey McBride. The speaking of the fitness team that we're in, the league, the team that is looking like it might be the most scary is just the Rams offense and the Cowboys offense. It is I think it's Puka, Kyron, and Devontae Adams, and Pickens and Ferguson. It's like, okay, so this team, I guess, is going to put up, 40 points in real life every week. But it also has Kyler as the quarterback as well, too. And I don't know if the league is a little different with the scoring with, like, the completions. So I don't know if he's been, throwing a lot late in the games as well, too. And they have had, they do like to get the run game involved. Outside of just Kyler with the running backs. But his fantasy, of course, has been really elite this year as well, too. He's been pretty consistent scoring. Some good matchups. I mean, this Titans matchup, obviously very, very favorable. But, again, still able to take advantage right inside to the 15-yard line. Are they going to go 3 for 3 on touchdown trips? Gannon is going to have this team well prepared. The little handoff on the inside. Oh, chat. It's not even a struggle. He doesn't even touch it. The running back doesn't even get a defender contacting him until 8-9 yards down the field. And then at that point, he's just a little lunge forward for at least the first down. And yeah, they're going to give him the touchdown there, chat. Bam Knight! Whoa! I feel like maybe I'm thinking of, there was like a Zonovan McKnight that we had on our fantasy team at one point a couple years ago. I don't know if this is him. There may have been a Bam something else as well, too. So this may be a new guy. I'm not sure. But he is right on the pylon. It's pretty close. Knees down. Yeah, he might be just a little bit short. But regardless, it is a first down and a pretty dominant run. Yeah, first and goal right on the goal line for Arizona. So they're probably just going to punch this one in right here. We've got Tampa on the drive after Baker with the shot down the field. And Buka open. Gets the... Ooh, chat. Tampa's been a little bit the injury luck. You guys going into Buka's knees. I mean, we don't want to be over here rooting for the Ohio State receivers. But again, we're reinvested into some of these individual performances in a different way. Outside of just some of the parlays. But yeah, I guess shout out to Minnesota for getting the second win on the international stage. And if you are the team for NFL that does get the back-to-back international game, I think that is actually a pretty good setup. There is, of course, the initial travel is always going to be tough. You're at least on an even playing field there with that first team as well, because you're both traveling that week. But of course, you get the advantage of shorter travel, even if you're going. It's still not crazy. I guess you're going from Ireland to London, so probably still shorter than maybe some of the flights in state. But Tampa to Seattle, chat. Who had a shorter flight? Minnesota with the Ireland to London game, or this Tampa to Seattle game, where Tampa is going across the country. But just the fact that for any type of trip as well too, you're gonna want to maximize the time at the destination versus the time traveling. I guess unless traveling is part of the plan as well too, because we've had trips as a family in the past. It's like we're gonna go out west, but we're gonna drive and we're gonna stop at every stop along the way, and we're gonna actually the destination is just like all these stops along the way. But again, if you're like going overseas, it's like, okay, I gotta go the whole, and I haven't flown overseas. Hey, I'll make the mistake. That's not something that seems fun. But it's like, okay, I gotta fly overseas, and then you're already, I'm sure an NFL week is already, short enough as well too. And I don't know if you fly over on Monday as well, the week you're supposed to play over there. So, and then you're just practicing, and then getting to the arena, getting to the game, flying back probably as soon as possible. I think you can take your bye week the week after you get back as well. So you do have, maybe you just end up spending the extra week in Europe. I don't know, but maybe that's the ultimate combo. So I think that's where the Vikings are at right now, is they get the 2 international games and then the bye week. So you could potentially go 3 straight weeks in Europe and then go back to the U.S. I don't know if you're talking, the adjustment in that fourth game, I guess, back. So that first game back from the bye week, I don't know if that's just like a guaranteed loss at that point. It's like, okay, these guys have been over in Europe for a month. But again, from a traveling efficiency standpoint, I think that's definitely the way to do it. And if you're gonna, travel overseas for your bye, anyways. Again, if I guess if we were an NFL player, then the travel overseas would be a little bit of a different combinations. But regardless, I think maybe just again, it's like, okay, we could just be in state and have fun. I think I'd be the guy that would just be back at like his college game on his bye week. Be like, oh, it's like, wait a second, do they have a game this Sunday? It's like, oh no, he's actually they're not playing, so he's just on the sideline. It's like, wait, his vacations every week in Michigan? That's not, or every year in Michigan? That doesn't seem like a lot of fun. But it's like, oh yeah, that's what we do anyways. But yeah, I think the 3-week stretch in Europe is the way to go. If you're McConnell, it's like 2 weeks. Maybe. And, I guess shout out to Ireland, London, shout out to the UK. I mean, it's definitely, I'm sure a fun place to take a trip. I don't know if it's, Europe, if it's like, if you're working in a different sort of bracket, NFL bracket for traveling expenses. Like, I think maybe, I don't know if the UK is the number one spot on your list that you're going to go to. But again, at least you're a little bit closer to whatever that destination might be. And, again, you that first flight over, 3 weeks in Europe, flight back seems like a great way to do it. Pause for travel. So I guess who do the Vikings? We'll see here. Who do the Vikings play next? And I'm assuming maybe it could be on the road. I guess you get the bye week. Maybe it doesn't. Again, it doesn't matter at that point. So maybe the smart thing. And I'm sure you guys are like, oh, do I want to just be at home, like travel back? I'm sure you could travel back and then travel back again, but that would seem crazy. It seem like too much. I don't know. But let's see here. Week 7 would be their next week in action. Oh, and it's against Philly. So it is at home, but it's definitely not an easy game. I don't know if, I don't know how they're feeling now after this game against the Broncos. But still, like we're saying, that's still obviously a tough regular season team to have to play against. And I think still competitive playoff team. Oh, chat. We accidentally clicked on the NBA tab, but was it an accident? I don't know. A little preseason action tonight. Oh, a little Lakers Warriors on ESPN, chat. The Sunday night game in jeopardy. We may be staring. Well, would we have been staring at our phone anyways? But now it's going to be a NBA game that we're staring at our phone at. I don't know. Thunder versus Hornets. We got that. Oh, Chad, is that starting right now? Hey, yo, where's this Thunder's app? It's not even available on League Pass. Hey, Chad, this is crazy. I mean, the Thunder, of course, are a crazy team, but everybody is, even their bench guys. It's like, okay, can I watch, who's the point guard? Topic? Like, can I watch Topic and Ousmane Dieng? I actually want to kind of see those guys play, chat. Hey, yo. I've maybe trying to find myself some Oklahoma City Blue. Or is it Blue Thunder? I don't know. But if it isn't Blue Thunder, they should definitely change their G League team to Blue Thunder. Because I don't know why it would be Oklahoma City Blue. And here, yo, chat. Now we're in the weeds. It took us all of 2 seconds to get sidetracked into the NBA. It is what it is. But the NBA is right around the corner, so we just got to, we're continuing to get in the rhythm. Yeah, Oklahoma City Blue is the G League team. Why are they the blue? It's definitely like a color of, I don't know, electricity or something like that. Like a gas stove has blue fire, so I don't know if it has something to do with that. Let's see what we have here. I guess Thunder, fire, that seems like some kind of a correlation maybe. I guess. The Asheville Altitude, I mean, that's not a bad name. That would seem more like a Denver G League team. The Tulsa 66ers, yeah, again, that's not for Oklahoma City. That's for the 76ers. You can't just take another team's style of name for your own team. And then now they're the Oklahoma City Blue. And they also won a championship as well, but they actually won a title before the real team makes sense, right? Well, I guess it's not like Ousmane Dieng, NBA G League Finals MVP and then helped to win the finals. But I guess, just as a sign of how locked in their entire franchise is, it shows you that they're winning at every level. But regardless, we petitioned them to change their name to the Blue Thunder. I don't know if we're saying the Oklahoma City Blue Thunder, but you can just be the Blue Thunder. Why not? Who cares? It's a G League team. Again, you were the the Tulsa 66ers, the Asheville Altitude at one point. So I think you were associated with a different team because the Thunder were not around in 2001 and 2005. But again, if you're gonna be the Tulsa 66ers, you can be the Blue Thunder for a couple years. Much cooler. And I mean, the Blue Thunder G League champions, they might actually get a couple of people tuning into some games. Who knows? But same with Charlotte. Like, is Knuppel gonna be out there for a couple minutes? Do we get a Knuppel first quarter in a preseason game? I don't know. I feel like Well, we saw Cooper Flagg. There was some media day pictures. So I was like, we saw Cooper Flagg in a jersey. Is he playing? But there's a media day. And, of course, our guy Wemby, there's a clip of him going around, like, bullying a guy to the basket, which, make no mistake, of course, we were complaining all summer that there was no NBA clips from Wemby, or no basketball clips. Of course, he wasn't really cleared for basketball activity, but it was also, like, he was doing every other activity possible. It's like, well, if you're playing soccer and you're not cleared for basketball activity, like, what does that mean? But it did seem like there was offseason work being put in. Of course, he was mentioning that he was the hardest working guy in the league. Pause. Hey, yo. Maybe that just goes to, how active he was this summer. But, again, I don't know if he was actually playing stronger on that play or if it was a teammate, being beneficial on the practice rep. Because, again, it was a practice rep against, I don't know if it was against Cornette or if it was against, like, a coach as well, too. They all kind of look the same size when they're guarding Wembanyama. Hey, yo. But that is, that just any sort of course, added strength. In stability as well, too. Balance. I mean, he's always been locked in, the draft stuff. When his training regimen, they were like talking about, how is he going to put on weight and all this different stuff. He's like talking about how he's also training for pliability and all this long-term health type stuff, which, also is the right type of stuff you want to hear. So just any type of, again, balance and, I guess, Giannis driving to the rim. Like, who can stop that guy as well, too? It's not like, Wemby should be able to bulk up and contain Giannis when he's driving to the basket because, again, literally nobody can. I guess Jared Allen, Giannis driving at Jared. Giannis can posterize anybody. Nobody is safe. So it's just the guys that he should not be getting thrown off his spot by on drives to the rim and just his ability to stay vertical as well too can all be improved with that added strength more so than, is he just going to be a bully ball type guy? And that even goes, in the post. And he likes fading away as well, so it's not like he even needs to, you need to back a guy down a couple of times, get close to the basket. And that fade away, is not from 27 feet out. But regardless, he can also, it's not like, he can get good space on the shot as well, too, and not necessarily having to, get the contact from the physicality just because he's so tall. But also his ability to be on balance on the shot. If he's taking that, if he's trying to initiate that contact, but the strength and balance is not there, and then all of a sudden the fadeaway is just a little bit off, a little bit wobbly in alignment in the way he's going up for the basket, all that, again, it just hopefully is little tweaks there that are being fixed. So, I guess, are they playing tonight? We might have to see, but maybe, can he play some practice reps for Charlotte, chat, just so we can watch? I don't know if we want to, I guess start risking him in injury risk like this for preseason, but, we're, hot take, we're ready for basketball, chat. We're ready for Wembanyama, we're ready for the Spurs team to get playing. We're excited, chat. I mean, it is what it is. It's the first kind of let's go season in a while because even the last, couple years with Wembanyama, it still has been a little bit of, obviously, the team has not been in the, still a couple of spots behind. And not to say that, are we going to go to the Western Conference final? Or, whoa, let's go, like, I don't know if we're going to be chanting OKC in the opening game. Like, let's see the Thunder. Maybe do we play? I think we play Dallas in the opening game. But, are we going to be up against 30 in the third quarter against Dallas and we're like, OKC? I don't know if that's the team that we're going to be this year. But, again, it is like, hey, we could be there in the playoffs. Wemby could be a, top 5 guy in the league. Like all this, the competitiveness was on the table in a different type of way. And, again, there was when we were sort of going backwards from being a championship team and the hope of, obviously, this kind of season, I guess, building forward into a championship season as well, too. It's like, oh, no, we're barely in the mix for the wild, I guess the wild card wasn't around, or the play-in. But it's like, oh, we're barely in the mix for the playoffs. Like, how is, this is not good. But now it's like, oh, we might be in the mix for the playoffs. This is good. Oh, did Montgomery just throw a touchdown? Somebody just threw a touchdown. Was that Gibbs? It wasn't Goff. Hey, yo, chat. Brock Wright got the reception. It was Montgomery. Shout out, chat. That's making that pick look good as well, too. I said on Friday that Montgomery felt like for our fantasy team a little bit of a real pick, and we didn't have to play him this week as well, which is nice. And, Dobbins ended up with a good day. Did they update Montgomery for the passing touchdown yet? It says 13-0 on the... Oh, hey, yo, chat. I forgot I was screen playing up on the second TV there. I guess you guys can't see it, but I've got my fantasy team pulled up on the IT. Can you get a good look at the fantasy team there? Dave Montgomery's stat line? Let's see if there's any trade offers for David Montgomery after this pass. Doesn't look like it. Chat, we're going to have to DM the commissioner. Hey, yo, I think it's just because he has it. Oh, he actually has just no rushing yards. That's why that passing touchdown is bringing his total up at this point, because he has 2 rushing yards, so he's 0.2 points via that. But does he have a couple of receptions? Hey, yo, chat, we're just going to be locked into this Thunder versus Hornets preseason game. Oh, look at this. LaMelo is playing. Chat, we got to find this game. LaMelo is playing. Hey, yo. Is Sam on his honeymoon, or is he at this Charlotte Thunder game? I feel like he's going to be able to do both somehow. Pause. I don't know. But basketball is back, chat. Knuppel is Usman Jang. Oh, chat, we're missing out. Would we rather watch Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert or Usman Jang? Oh, chat, we're degenerates. It is what it is. It is what it is. I honestly can't even change the page. It's just, as long as the starters are out there. Look at the scoring, chat. I guess, football. I guess the plays are, moving in kind of quick like that. But Thunder right away taking the lead. Shout out. Isaiah Joe going crazy. What's Usman Jang got to start? 2 for 2, 5 points, chat. Maybe we don't want to watch. Maybe we're bad luck for our guy. LaMelo assisting, rebounding early on. Knuppel 0 for 1, chat. Is LaMelo out here playmaking the Knuppel, getting the guys involved? I feel like that is, I don't know if he's getting talked about in that way. And I mean, I guess he hasn't necessarily been a traditional point guard, but he also hasn't had the same type of, talent around him. They've had good players, and they've had some, solid some pro veteran type guys. They had like Gordon Hayward and stuff there, I think, for a little bit, and maybe Rozier. Just like a random veteran guy that team might want to trade for at some point to be like their 8th man. And they have, again, Miles Bridges has become a good player. I guess Mark Williams, there's some good talent, but it still has kind of been working its way forward a little bit. And now it does seem like they actually have a balanced lineup that they can put out there with a couple of different guys that can create, some ball handling opportunities, some perimeter shooting as well too. So maybe actually an opportunity for LaMelo to create for these guys is going to be there. Because, I don't know if we have to go way back to the Chino Hill days, because that's obviously a different, freshman LaMelo Ball playing on that Chino Hills team's a different scenario, just in terms of the hierarchy of that team. It's not going to be a question of, LaMelo is passing to those guys. He was also, make no mistake, he was shooting as well too. He was taking shots on that team. I mean, it was obviously like, okay, there is a standout talent here as well, even outside of some of the 5-star guys. But the point guard shareability stuff, I think, was there a little bit, and I think he is a score first guy in a way. But I think there is a little bit more of a balance there than he is given credit for. Like, I don't know, hot take could, and maybe I'm not saying that he is, right now, hey, check out, work this out carefully. What's the right way to phrase this so we're not going too crazy? But there is, I guess, a world where he is a better point guard playmaker than a guy like Shea, I think. I'm not saying that that's super likely to happen. And Shea is obviously such a great scorer that he's so efficient at it, and he's able to still find the guys and playmaking. He was in a 10 assist-ish type range, I feel like, there for the playoffs a little bit. So it's not like it's so again, it's not like his pure point guardness is so far behind some of those other guys. Maybe Tyrese Halliburton is kind of the lead guy in that category right now, but maybe Shea is a little like in the Brunson type range, or maybe Brunson's more in the Shea type range. But again, they're obviously more maybe the 7 to 8 assist range type guys, and obviously are going to be more focused on getting the final basket at the end of the game. But I do think that there is a point guard aspect there to LaMelo. Maybe it is a little Trae Youngish, but I think it is different than that as well too. I think he can be a guy that is a little bit better off the ball than Trae Young. I mean, there is obviously maybe a size pause thing that is more effective in that way, but I just think his, I don't want to say IQ, but his cutting and just his off-ball ability, if it's locked in and some of the corner stuff as well too, I think could be a little bit more deadly. So, hey, yo, chat, we were joking around with Sam last NBA season about, I don't know if LaMelo trade him to the Spurs, like we'll take him, I don't know, we'll take the gamble, I guess, if that's what people are saying at this point. But we'll hype them up right now while they're losing by 8 to the Thunder in the preseason before we actually get to the real regular season. I guess we don't have turnovers here. So I don't know if LaMelo's just... Oh, okay, 0 turnovers. I guess it can be a little, pause, rough at times. A little up and down. But Miller, 3 for 4. Like, if Miller and Knuppel are, if they're scoring, I think he can delegate to those guys. And then, all of a sudden, LaMelo's open on the wing for 3. Heat check 3 is good to go. And I would kind of trust him in those kind of clutch moments as well, too. Hybrid sort of Dame Lillard with a little more playmaking as well. I think there is a real point guard side of his game that could get unlocked this year. That could be kind of fun to see. But again, it's a could. It's a could. We'll just have to. We'll have to see if there's odds on like what the assist number is or something. But Chad Darnold to JSN in the back of the end zone. Oh, we had him on our draft board for fantasy. I thought that was going to be one of the ones, like not getting him. And I don't know if we planned to draft that a little bit differently, and maybe that's a killer for our team. But we also have to face him this week as well too. So a bit of a double whammy pause for potential bad luck, and he does get the earlier score here in the game. Oh, Chad, just beautiful game. Hey, of course the retro just style, the retro coloring. Chad, it's perfect. I mean, I don't know, if the whole league, if we just went back into a 70s vibe or, a little bit more of a old school vibe, a different era, I'm sure that, obviously probably not everybody would execute it correctly, but I'm sure we would, adjust to it. And then it's like, all of a sudden this wave of stuff from the 2020s is like back in style again. It's like, all these trends, like these were cool. I don't know why we were hating on it. Yeah, I'm sure, again, we would, the fashion would be cyclical. But it's cyclical for a reason, Chad, because we're looking back at the 70s and 80s stuff going, maybe we bring it back. I don't know. This stuff's looking pretty good on some of these jerseys. I don't know if we're all making those noises, Chad, but I'm telling you, sometimes when you throw on the right jersey, it can, really get an NFL fan feeling a certain type of way. So, we'll just keep hoping that game and those teams get into the scoring spot as well too. Chad, speaking of making noises, we'll just hope that they keep getting in the red zone. I mean, even that could be a little bit of a pause as well too. But I guess Sam Darnold. I feel like Sam Darnold might be one of the. Is he a anti-pause? Anti-pause? Is that the right way to think about it, Chad? I feel like if we need to reset the conversation, I feel like we could just say Sam Darnold, and it's like, okay, everything's just back to normal, and we're good to go. I don't, I feel like I guess I don't know. We might have to switch over to this conversation to the Represent Patreon, but Daniel's on the 1st and 10 out to Debo on the little wide receiver screen. A couple of some yards after the catch type plays could be a good way to get this offense in rhythm. Oh, Chad, what are they showing on the rerun right now? They're just showing Brady taking a massive hit from one of the Bills defenders on a run attempt. Is this like a this day in history type thing? I mean, I don't know if we say shout out to Brady here. Again, he destroyed our teams for 20 years, so it's still a little, it's going to take a couple of years. I don't know if it's going to take 20 years of him being out of football for us to, get those, not necessarily feel that type of way about his sports career. But they still do, like we were watching some of the college football games yesterday, and I was keeping an eye, of course, on this Michigan Nebraska game, which I guess if we had to choose, like shout out, maybe that's why the feds weren't keeping an eye on the live streams yesterday. I don't know, but we were watching some of that Michigan Nebraska game, and they were running ads for the games today, and they still run the ads like Tom Brady is calling this game, like you're gonna want to watch this game, and it was a funny one as well. Like it was, it's kind of funny. Let me see if I can remember the whole plot. What was the whole plot of this story, Chad? It was twists and turns, all over the place. It was some over aggressive sports parent type thing, which of course is just it's a good trope. So there's a lot of material there, and it was something about the guy had the IQ of Tom Brady, so maybe he was watching his kid play in like the backyard, but like watching it with like the Tom Brady 100 IQ type thing. So yeah, it was like, okay, The Fox always does a decent job with their with the what they're going for the ads. But it's like, again, am I watching this game for Tom Brady calling the game? Chat, the Commanders run game. Is that Bill into the end zone? Krosky Merritt? I want to call him McCrosky Merritt. I feel like, but I guess the M is the Merritt part. McCrosky Errett? Is that what we're trying to say? Now it's, we're switching it around. But Bill, shout out. Into the end zone. First score of the game for the Commanders. So now 7-10. It's getting definitely back to a little bit more interesting. But and don't forget, chat. I just look back at the computer. We're watching the NFL games on in the background. I guess we're just degenerate NBA fans. For some reason, my fingers paused. Just don't want to switch back to the NFL scores. Should I just switch it onto my phone or something? I open up a new tab that you guys can't see and just keep an eye on it there. Maybe that's the move. Oh, chat, Topic is in the game. How do we get on this Thunders app? How much is it? Oh, League Pass. Okay. Obviously, it should be on League Pass. Chat, is Commanders Chargers full game live stream in jeopardy? I don't know. Let's see here. Maybe just for I guess, again, because first quarter, I guess, is winding down as well, too. So the amount of time we're going to be probably focused in on the back, or, the interesting backups is going to be a little less now. But let's see if we can find this one on the League Pass and maybe throw it on the TV in the back, chat. Maybe get a little first NBA action of the season. Hey, yo, pose. Maybe, get the first little NBA game of the season on. And now have the full sports sort of... Are we going to have to get a third TV for the baseball playoffs? It's been catching our attention, chat. Do we have to see it? Are there games tonight? I guess if there is an NBA preseason game, is a Lakers preseason game more important than a divisional game for the MLB? And maybe it's like a Fox game as well too. We don't want to necessarily doubt where it's being programmed. Okay, yeah, a couple of FS1 games for baseball. So Fox has the games. They're not going to put them over the NFL. I think what are we getting tonight? Like a some kind of animation domination on Fox. Like, we can't put Tigers versus Mariners on over Bob's Burgers. Chad, is Bob's Burgers even still on the air? I don't even know what shows are on Fox at this point. I guess that's, I guess watching college doesn't have the red zone thing. Maybe ESPN does. I actually think maybe they do now that I've heard like shout out Brian Curtis from the Ringer. I feel like maybe I've heard him mention something like that on a pod in the past, but maybe it wasn't for college football. I don't remember. But, again, you don't get, like, all the promos, at least, for the NFL games. You do get them during the NFL games. So, like, what the next programming is. Oh, watch this, random TV show after tonight if you're bored. So, we don't know if they're still, I guess, like we're saying, doing the animation domination on Fox, but they're not running baseball, chat, is the point. They're not running Tigers Mariners. So, even a non-baseball guy like me, we chuck a couple of these paws into a parlay, and now all of a sudden I'm interested, chat. It is what it is. But Yankees, Blue Jays, I guess oh, wait a second. Is it 9-0 Blue Jays over the Yankees? Wait, that's runs, right? I guess that's why it's bolded out. Hey, Rem doesn't know about baseball. I guess, oh yeah, here we go. The score right there, 9-0 Blue Jays. And again, I know we're not claiming to be baseball fans. We're really just throwing it on for the playoffs because we even know at this point, like, what the end game, like the season doesn't have that much time left. There's way less teams to follow. Obviously, as you would assume for a lot of the leagues, as the playoffs go on, you get to the better and better talents, ideally, for the league. So we know that it's going to be a little bit more stars playing now as well too, instead of just of course, whatever random games you're getting over the course of 162 games in the regular season. But some of these stars as well too are, again, really catching our attention. Of course, we've said that, are we buying up all the Tatis stock? Like, he was our quote-unquote, supposedly, he was going to be our favorite player, and then he got suspended. And we're like, well, we're not baseball fans. Do we have time to pivot? I don't know. But I keep forgetting about our guy, De La Cruz. Maybe the fact that Tatis is the guy that, again, I just keep thinking, like, what's Tatis doing in the AO? What are his stats looking like? Like, maybe that is just him being our favorite player. But De La Cruz is, kind of fun as well, too. And for the Blue Jays, Guerrero, I don't know if he is a younger guy as well. If he's rookie contract or if he's a more veteran player. I guess not going to let us see what his career is looking like. Just whatever. Oh, here we go. Full player profile. I'm not reading the page, chat. We got it right here. Okay, yeah, so 26, chat. Hey, yo. So, you know, I guess speaking of Shea, I don't know if this guy's the Shea of the of MLB. Maybe Otani. Well, Otani is probably, you know, a little bit of a different level. I don't know if Shea is, well, you know, bulletin board for material for Shea. Is Shea on the Otani level? But yeah, again, Otani is, you know, a one-of-one in a, you know, in a unique way just across sports. But yeah, shout out to our guy Vlad. Let's see, is this year by year? Okay, so 2019. Okay, so he has been around for a little bit. I guess the baseball thing, I don't know ever what the timeline is because of the minor league stuff where, you know, can you be a rookie at 28 after? I guess you could probably, you know, anything is possible. But, you know, what's the most common version? Or, you know, a guy like Skeens, like how often are your first round picks just going to be out there as rookies? You know, is that it? Because that doesn't seem like an NFL thing where you're just drafting for need guy right away for all of the teams in the MLB. But hey, yo, Chad. Okay, baseball corner, basketball corner. You know, I guess we got a WNBA corner, but do we boycott the WNBA before the season's even over, Chad? It looks like the players are gonna do that next year. And the Aces winning game 2. Oh, that was earlier today, Chad. Hey, yo, it is what it is. But I guess the game was a little less dramatic than the last one as well. Though Phoenix in the first quarter did hang with them, but second and third, the Aces definitely took over. And Jackie Young with 32. Yeah, if Jackie Young's scoring 30, I mean, you know, the Fever shout out were able to, you know, to go toe-to-toe with them with both Jackie Young and Asia Wilson putting up 30 in that last game. And really speaks to, again, where the Fever were at offensively as well, too. And players like Kelsey Mitchell, and they did, who was Sims off the bench in that last game was really awesome. But, yeah, you got Asia Wilson at 28, and both of them really efficient as well, too. 13 for 23, 12 for 20 for Jackie Young, 5 for 5 from the free throw line. Hey, yo, and Chelsea Gray, 10 and 10 and 8. So she almost had a triple-double herself. And 3 steals, 3 blocks. Hey, yo, the 10, 10, 8, 3 and 3 game. Do we go to the stat head real quick, chat, and see if anybody else has had the 10, 10? I mean, that's like the Draymond-ish, you know, stat line right there. But that's the kind of big 3 impact type thing that you need. And hey, yo, I was about to just do a whole Chris Bosh rant, but I was like, did I just, hey, yo, self-edit, chat? IT could be proud. I was just about to be like, but because like, maybe it wasn't going to be the most pro Chris Bosh. I was like, what if Chris Bosh had a little bit more of those type of stat lines, you know, where it was like 10, you know, maybe not 10 points, but, you know, maybe, again, I don't know. It would have been the playmaking thing as well, too. He just wasn't quite a passer like, you know, a Draymond type where you could literally just run the offense through him like a legit point guard. And, you know, also we're just not mentioning Draymond's defense as well, too. Though Bosh was a really good defender, and, again, Draymond, though, could actually, like, go switch out to the perimeter and guard guards. And, you know, if you had to, like, okay, Iggy at the peak of his powers, you know, that 2014 Warriors team, like, Iggy probably is going to guard Shea, or, you know, Jalen Williams or something. But that could be a potential thing that happens at some point in the game where you're like, you know, Iggy's going to guard Jalen Williams, Draymond's just going to guard Shea, or I guess because of the body types, Draymond probably would guard Jalen Williams, and Iggy, again, probably would guard Shea. But, you know, either way, Draymond on Jalen Williams, and Jalen, I guess he can kind of be a power forward as well, too. So, you know, positionless basketball, hey, it is what it is. But regardless, you kind of need that, you know, defense rebounding play, the non-scoring third option type guy at times. And, you know, the Spurs were able to achieve, of course, an offensive balance with their 3 guys, but that's just because it's the best trio in the history of the league. So it's a little bit of a exception to the rule there. And Jewel Lloyd, 30 minutes off the bench, 9 points in this one as well, too. Dana Evans, 5. But again, the main players really cooking. Hey, yo, did the Lions just get Browning in the end zone, chat? Hutchinson with the safety? Oh, chat. It makes it 16-0. I guess the Lions are going to get the ball back as well, too. Hutch. I don't know if Hutch has quite been up. Oh, are they going to get a flag? I don't know if Hutch has quite been in the defensive player of the year race. Oh, chat, do we have to log in to League Pass? thought I was already logged in. Uh-oh, chat. Give me a second. Let me see if I can log in and keep up with this NFL game at the same time. Okay, luckily it's going to give us the clutch. We can just type it in here and continue that way. As long as, a new segment called, does Rem remember his password? We'll see if he does. Oh, chat, first try. That's clutch right there, chat. That might be the most clutch pod moment that we've ever had, is at least knowing the password the first time. I don't know if that was, a elite couple minutes, but there was a chance it could have gone really bad. Colin Sexton on the Thunder. I don't know. This is a real preseason graphic right here, too. I don't know, is this going to be the Thunder TV for the graphic for the year? They're taking up like a third of the screen on the bottom. Hey, yo, I guess we don't necessarily need to see Celebrity Row in OKC, or we're playing in Charlotte here. So I guess, is this the Charlotte? Hey, yo, this is tough, chat. Del Curry's bald head just going to be totally off the broadcast this year for the Thunder. Or the Hornets. Is Eric Collins still calling games? Because I did see that he is on the Amazon coverage. He's on one of the new national teams, and shout out to him. He absolutely deserves it. He's just one of the best announcers we have in sports, and just absolutely a ton of fun. And I don't know if there is like a, and I don't know if a great announcer is a great announcer, but there can be like a balance to a regalness. I feel like a lot of the A+ teen guys, there's like a stereotype of the regalness, excitement sort of balance there. I feel like Gus Johnson sort of being Gus Johnson, I guess I was going to say being the one exception, but being, I guess, the most extreme version of it, because he can, dip into those regal moments as well too. But, a guy like, Tirico, of course, when he has to get excited about a play, there is, of course, a sort of contained professionalism that he's able to have with the excitement, and then just his knowledge as well too is off the charts. I mean, I guess the IQ, of course, is going to be the announcer IQ is going to be a big part of it, where a guy like Mike Breen as well, super high announcer IQ, but his excitement always still has just a certain level of A+. This guy is like, there's a broadcasterness to it that still he's able to maintain that energy. And I guess, again, maybe Gus Johnson is in a different lane. Maybe the Mike Breen, Tirico, Jim Nance tier. I don't know who is that we'll call that the Marv Albert tier? And then maybe, is that the Pat Summerall tier, like a different tier? Like Al Michaels, peak Al Michaels, of course, is in that, the Marv Albert tier. Maybe we just call it the Pat Summerall tier. Oh, Browning, chat! So the penalty gives them the ball back. They didn't get the safety for the Lions, but Browning just throws a pick on the next play. So, shout out to the Cam and Mace pod. They were talking about Shador going to the Bengals, and I was, listening to that thing, like, obviously, if Shador is going to start somewhere, then that would be fun. But I don't know, with the Browns, and I think Mace was maybe taking the side of, Dylan Gabriel, we'll see him for a couple games, and then make no mistake, we'll be right to Shador Sanders. It is what it is. But after Gabriel's game today, it's like, I don't know, maybe the Browns would be like, well, listen, when did they take him, chat? The 5th round? Or do we have to look? So if somebody offered a 5th round pick for Shador, would you have to do it? If somebody offers a better pick than you got him for, and he hasn't played outside of the preseason, I feel like you kind of have to do that as well too. And if you don't do that trade, I guess maybe it becomes an interesting, like, what do you actually think of either of Dylan Gabriel or Shador at that point as well too? Maybe you like them both, maybe you don't like them both, and you're just like, okay, well, we have to have an option between the two of them. I don't know. Wait a second. What's this stat, chat? Most interceptions through the first 4 seasons? Oh, since 2000. It had Ed Reed on the graphics, so I was like, oh, well, it's got to be great. But in it, Ed Reed, shout out, 22 picks, is 4th on the list. But J.C. Jackson is number 1 with 25. Richard Sherman, 24. Marcus Peters, 22. Ed Reed, 22. Kirby Joseph now with 20. And then Rasheed Mathis, also 20. Shout out, Rasheed Mathis, pretty good as well, too. But J.C. Jackson, I mean, could have lockdown corner moments, but was he also just getting targeted a lot? Marcus Peters is a little like that as well too. I think early Marcus Peters was obviously really, really good, but I don't know if offenses were necessarily super afraid to target him as well. A little in that Travion Diggs camp maybe. A little hit or miss in terms of pick or touchdown. It just depends on whether or not the offense want to gamble in that way. So, Kirby Joseph as the only other safety on that list though, next to Ed Reed, maybe speaks to where he's at. And again, Ed Reed also being the only safety on that list outside of Kirby Joseph speaks the other way around as well too. I feel like, some of the safeties in the modern day, the physicality and the playing up around the line of scrimmage, or just the ability to play all across the field. A guy like Palomalu or Dawkins, of course, they're just going to be like Ed Reed. I guess Ed Reed would probably blitz from a time or two, but he's going to be a little bit more, again, free. Like Kirby Joseph is like that. Kirby Joseph is actually a little bit more of a true, kind of a deep safety, going to be playing coverage most of the time versus, again, Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton would be in that Palomalu, and Brian Dawkins is maybe a little bit more in the Ed Reed Palomalu. He's like in the Ed Reed camp, and I guess Ed Reed could, his hit stick rating would be pretty crazy as well too. But from a Madden standpoint on the field. But Kenneth Walker, chat, gets the Seahawks down inside the 10. But he also did have I guess all the great safeties. Palomalu had the range as well too. I saw one of those posts that's like build your perfect secondary, and it gives you a budget, and it tiers up the guys, and of course you have to the dollar amount. You have to take a certain guy to every dollar amount, and I don't know if I can pull it up here real quick, chat. Hey, I might have to open a new tab real quick and log in to a special account. But it was with the way they had it listed out. I was like, I might just want to build a secondary around all the safeties, honestly, and maybe at some point the fact that guys were great corners themselves does matter as well. But again, just betting on the sort of overall football talent list, it's like, okay, all these safeties are going to be the highest ranked guys on here. So, okay, yeah, here, let's see if I can switch this over so you guys can see this real quick. Okay, perfect. So, yeah, we've got the $4, $3, $2, $1 categories. We've got $15 total, and we've got a free safety, a strong safety, left and right corners, and then we've got our slot corner as well too. And the $4 safeties, Ed Reed. The $3 safeties, Ronnie Lott. The $2 safeties, Brian Dawkins, and I guess the $1 safety is Darren Sharper as well too. It's like, okay, I'm just $4, $3, $2. Give me Ed Reed, Ronnie Lott, and Brian Dawkins, and I'll just figure it out as well too. I guess strong safety, Sean Taylor and Palomalu. Shout out. I guess, we're also just maybe biased towards safeties as well, too, because we got Darrell Reeves as a $3 left cornerback in Champ Bailey. Richard Sherman as a $1 corner is, pretty crazy value. Ronnie Barber as a $2. And that's, he's a pretty versatile. I guess Woodson as well, too. There's versatility there where they can have the safety corner thing. But, I think Barber, maybe he was more corner focused. I guess for some reason I'm thinking he's more safety focused, but I think I'm probably wrong there, getting that backwards. And then Woodson as well too, being one of the all-time interception leaders. Ty Law, I guess if you're playing against Peyton Manning, then you're taking Ty Law for $2. But if we're playing against the rest of quarterbacks, maybe again Revis for $2 is a better option, just week to week as well. Wait, so what was our budget? 15? I actually might have to think about this again. I just was like, okay, Reed, Lott, and Dawkins, lock it in. So leaving Sean Taylor on the board is pretty tough. Also, shout out them giving Sean Taylor the higher value than Palomalu as well, too. I think Palomalu... Oh, Chad McConkey just leaped over a Commanders defender. Hey, there's a flag on the play. They might call it back, but the McConkey breakout game. Oh, Chad, shout out Billy Buckets, who actually took him in fantasy. I was like, he's the third receiver. What are you doing? But he is... Oh, wait a second. Punt return? Oh, chat. They're going to get some sort of running into the kicker penalty. I think he got him on the plant leg. Hey, that could go from bad to worse as we figure out what our ideal secondary is here. Which of these secondaries would Ladd McConkey cook, chat? We'll see if which one of these secondaries, I guess, other way around, would shut down Ladd McConkey. Let us know. Again, I feel like you just have to take Revis, just not being the most expensive of any category. It's like, okay, that's probably a lock. Honestly, at that point, Sanders at $4 and Revis for $3. I know, you get the prime, you get prime, you get you get the entire NFL career, and then he can go coach as well on your team. I don't know if maybe you want to win some games with him as a coach, but again, you get him as a coach as well. He's at least trying, and I guess you get his kid potentially as well. I don't know if that is just all included in the pick, but I feel like the better value is Revis at $3. And, left versus right side, I don't know if it really makes a difference, honestly, at the end of the day. And again, Asante Samuel as well, too. Both of those guys, obviously just torched the Colts back in the day. So there is a PTSD factor that makes that pretty interesting. Again, the difference between Brian Dawkins, and shout out to John Lynch, and maybe this is just a, sort of football internet hype type of thing. And if we looked at the X's and O's, it'd be one of those like, the real football people know John Lynch was actually as good as Brian Dawkins. But I'd be like, I don't know. I feel like if I'm getting him for the same, salary cap number here, then I would just feel like I need to take Brian Dawkins in that situation. So we get one guy at each place, I guess, is obviously the rule. I don't know, $15. I don't know why we don't have a $5 category. It feels like this is also friendly, just, it's not really. I don't know if this is 2025 list, chat. This is not with 2025 inflation. I'm not exactly sure. This feels a little bit more affordable than it should be. But we got, I guess, Dawkins at $2 and Reeves at $3. So we've got $5 and only two guys. We got two guys and only $5 spent. Deebo Samuel. Oh, the Commanders are here at work at the end of the half. They don't have a timeout. 7 seconds, 6 seconds. Can they spike it and get a field goal? They can, chat. They've got 5 seconds left at the 11. Do they take a shot at the end zone? I feel like that never results in a completion. There's just no way. I just kick the field goal. And, I mean, again, maybe the clock operator's also a Washington Commanders fan. He'll probably, run the time down as well, too. But shout out to the Commanders for getting to the line of scrimmage quickly and executing that well. So, yeah, they will take the field goal here and tie the game going into half. Jaden Daniels didn't have, bad. He had 100 yards here in the first half. So, again, it's not having bad numbers. But I wouldn't say they had a overall, I guess both teams kind of, B minus first half. And, 10-10. It is tied. So 2 seconds left. I guess they'll have to burn a little on the kickoff. So I guess we just take Deion Sanders for $4. And then we're $9 in at that point. So $6 left. I mean, we can almost go wherever we want. And I know we did take Dawkins already, but if we just take Ed Reed and play him at strong safety, we still have $2 left for our slot corner. And we could just go Rodney Barber at that point. Like, are we allowed to double dip into the categories? Can I take Richard or Asante Samuel as a slot corner? Darren Sharper? I guess maybe not double dipping is the challenge of the list. So we would have to decide, do we want Ed Reed at 4 or Brian Dawkins at 2, chat? Hey, yo. I feel like, and I guess now we're backpedaling. Chat, hey, yo. Check the tapes. Did we just say we'd rather have Brian Dawkins at 2? But I feel like I just have to have Ed Reed on the team. It is what it is. It's not even it's not an anti-Brian Dawkins thing. It's just, it's not choosing John Lynch over Brian Dawkins. Maybe I'm going to take Palomalu out of principle. Or I'll just take Cam Chancellor. Hey, yo. Maybe. Ed Reed for 4. Cam Chancellor for 1. Dion for 4 gets us to $9. Bailey for 2 gets us to 11. And then Woodson for 4 gets us to 15. Ooh, that's kind of perfect. Wait, did I say Bailey over Reeves? Wait a second. So if we go Reeves and then Williams, or if we go Woodson and Bailey? Woodson and Sherman? Honestly, Woodson, Bailey, Sanders, Chancellor, and Reed is pretty stacked. We could go Lynch and Williams, or Palomalu and Barber is not bad as well, too. Reed, Palomalu, Sanders, Bailey, and Barber, if I'm just not doing the math on that quickly. Wait, what did this guy say? Cam, Dion, Champ, and Woodson. Oh, wait, I think he's just short a guy. He's just like, oh, free safety. Oh, Ed Reed. There we go. It's like, I don't even need another secondary player after I get these 4 guys. So, yeah, he goes Ed, Champ, wait, Dion, then Champ, then Woodson. Okay, wait, that's what we said, right? So, that is, I guess if this guy did the math right, then we can't afford, I guess I'm trying to figure out, can we afford that team with our salary cap? I think we can. So, I don't know. Is that I guess, did we just get the right answer to the quiz? Sean Taylor is $1 more than Troy P. Yeah, I mean, shout out. We're not going to... If we're going peak of the powers, I think it's pretty close. Obviously, Palomalu, was able... rest in peace, Sean Taylor. Palomalu was able to have a couple more years there. But, again, I think just individually at their best, you could argue that, again, Sean Taylor was obviously one of the best that we ever saw play the safety position. And especially if this is a Pro Bowl, chat, I mean, Sean Taylor, we might just create a special $5 category for him and let him, tear apart that game as well, too. But yeah, here, let's go back to the actual games we're paying attention to here. We've got halftime for Chargers Commanders, halftime for Titans Cardinals. Titans at 21. And Seattle does still have the lead 14-13, getting it on the Bucks here. But the Bucks are now inside the 15, almost to the 10. Bengals at 3rd and 4. 3rd and 14 to nothing. Hey, what's the score here? What's going on? Browning fires over the middle. Not going to get the first down. Maybe they go for it. You got to take the points? I don't know. Browning 2 picks, but the defense for a 2 interception performance does seem like they are holding in. So maybe this is one of those games where you're looking at it going, what do we do? I think the problem is going to be, for any of these teams, if you start to see the season going sideways and you have this talent that's going to be back next year, you start thinking about what you could potentially do in the draft as well, too. And again, the NFL doesn't have the lottery like the NBA does. So as much as, you may be not, you could finish 7th and not get the number 1 pick. You could also finish 7th and not get the number 15, or the 15th pick. Obviously, it's not work, but, you wouldn't get a lesser pick as well, too. So you can control your own destiny a little bit more. And does that start to tempt you a little bit, building through the draft in that type of way? I mean, the Ravens, I think, are going to be an interesting team for this as well, too. And I was thinking about going back and looking over the last couple of years. I mean, there's always a team that we have high expectations for. I mean, Super Bowl, like we were picking the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. A lot of people were. So I say we as an NFL community, did we make a Super Bowl pick? It's like, I don't know. Making a Super Bowl pick. I guess you could look at the odds and just kind of see maybe which one. Is there a matchup that you really, really like the odds on? But in terms of making a pick, of course, it just seems like, if you're betting on a 16-game season, you just bet on the two best, bet on like the best quarterback and the most talented roster. And I guess you would have thought, are the Ravens up there for most talented roster with the high end of some of their talent. But again, now they're suffering injuries as well, too. So that is something that you necessarily can't predict and can't help in terms of the success of the season. But now at 1-4, do they start looking at, if Lamar's out for a couple more weeks, if the record starts to go really bad, does it get a little bit like that where, do you think about shutting Lamar down for the season and maybe focusing on how you could build the team out in a draft type of way? Because again, this is not just, there is a, like we're saying, a case of you get back healthy, this team's obviously a better team. And yes, they're a better team than the team they were today. But in the games that they were playing against these other, good teams as well, too, they weren't showing that they were even still the team that we thought they were going to be going into the regular season. So it's not just, again, them getting back healthy and they're all of a sudden a contender again. They still need to get back healthy and build on top of that as well, too, and bring in more talent and continue to push the roster forward. And, actually having a good draft pick and continuing to secure a good defensive player as well, too, may actually be something that really benefits the team, because Kyle Hamilton is still, I think, is still one of the elite guys and a foundational building block defensive type player. But Madubuike has been hurt this year. They've just always had injury issues over the last several years with their defensive line as well, too. And, Roquan Smith and some of the linebacker guys have not quite, just the front seven has not been up to par as you would have, maybe it could have gotten into in moments over the last several years. And again, Madubuike last year was just incredible. So if you have one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league, what that can do for you strategically on defense is, invaluable. And just to not have him is, again, a big loss, but also, is he going to be playing at the same level as well, too? We're not writing it off, but I'm just saying that, again, some of those other guys weren't necessarily. So they do actually, really, I think, need to upgrade their front seven in a major way. And offensively, Lamar, again, in the regular season, and maybe some of the offensive line stuff as well, too, as they continue to deal with injuries. I'd have to double check and see how many of their offensive linemen are hurt, because I think it is a couple. But they could, again, actually use like a lottery type pick in the NFL this year if they want to get back to being an NFL contender. And Mayfield to Mbuka, chat, down the sideline. I hate that I'm having to sit here and root for Ohio State wide receivers, but shout out to ESPN for not updating their fantasy rankings when we did that draft 4 weeks into the year, and Mbuka was just way down the list. And it was like, okay, well, probably going to be a number one receiver. I'm not going to lie. already hated my team like a first quarter into the season. I was like, I can't believe I just signed up for a fantasy team 4 weeks into the year. I was so happy. The Colts are playing well. I have no lineup issues to worry about. No, to be invested in if this guy is getting his receptions and touchdowns and all this random stuff. And then the first quarter of the game, I'm like, I can't believe I took Garrett Wilson. I can't believe I took a Jets player. The Broncos run game is going to all of a sudden turn into nothing. And now the Colts are in a battle with the Raiders, and now they're going to be a bad team as well, too. And I was like, well, that was a fun first month of the season, and now all of a sudden it's ruined. But it has turned around a little bit. And Baker just got Mbuka for the 2-point conversion as well, too. Do we get 2 points in fantasy, chat? Hey, yo. I mean, that could be a sneaky little move as well, too. So I know that, at fantasy is a little like real life. You kind of just got to win your matchup and keep going. But you do need the total points for tiebreaker stuff. And I mean, let's be honest. It is, you can obviously sleep better at night knowing you have the best team in the league. When you score, you score the most points, and you're like, yeah, I think we're cooking here. So Mbuka early on 2 point. Yeah, 2 points for a 2-point conversion. Let's go, chat. And does he get a point? That goes as a reception as well, too. So a 2-point conversion is not an unvaluable fantasy play. Hey, yo, if it's a receiver, that's like a 3-point play. But the champ is hanging around, chat. Hey, yo, Mahomes. If Mahomes is just in his bag versus Jacksonville, that could be scary. We do have Worthy, so that could be a little bit of a neutralizing factor both ways. So as long as we have the lead, that could be good there. And a couple of Bills guys left to play as well, too. A couple of Bill guys, one of them being Josh Allen. So as long as we have the lead with Josh Allen left to play, that should be okay. But, yeah, hey, yo, where does Baltimore at right now? So 1-4. Wait, week 5? Yeah, so we're updated. Still, of course, with a little bit of some of the games left to go today. I'm trying to think. I guess Jacksonville, they got a good record. A couple of good record teams left. Wait, where's New England at? New England is 2-2, so they could move to 2-3 after tonight. But otherwise, Chicago on bye. Again, 2-3 is the worst they'd be looking at if they lost this week. So Baltimore at 1-4. Vegas, the Giants, the Saints, the Dolphins, the Browns, and then Tennessee and the Jets both without a win, and Tennessee's probably not going to correct that here, though we'll see if the Cardinals fall apart in the second half. But, yeah, a top 6 pick is crazy. And, again, Lamar, as much as, like we're saying, we're looking at the Ravens this year going, okay, this is concerning. And, again, 44 points to the Texans. I don't know if we can, we already know the Ravens' defense is bad. So we can look at this and go, oh, this is extra bad. They gave up 44 to the Texans. But again, they didn't have Lamar. They didn't have guys. So I'm sure, getting up for this game as well, too. As much as you'd want to see, that extra level fight as well. It's like, okay, I guess this season's probably not going to be that for the Ravens. And as much as we want to look at the Texans offense and go, oh, maybe they're getting, is this the turnaround game? Maybe this is like the momentum game where finally, somebody decided to just push them down the hill and now they can get rolling. But maybe this is just, again, the Ravens' defense, and we just can't really take any away from this performance because it's just going to be a little bit of an outlier. But if you have Lamar on your roster, any type of blue chip talent you can add can take you to, a playoff type run. And if you're able to get some type of elite pass rusher or elite lineman to just keep him protected there as well, that would be an incredible get. Peter Woods from Clemson. Hey, yo, chat. I don't know. I'm sure Peter Woods is having a great season. I feel like anybody from Clemson right now, I'd be a little bit like, I don't know. We'll see. Is he even going to be in the draft, I guess? Maybe he'll be not in the draft, but not on Clemson. Either one next year. We'll have to see. But like Reuben Bain, ooh, chat. Like if Reuben Bain went to the Ravens, that could be really interesting. And, they'd probably end up taking Jordan Tyson and just trying to bulk up the offense as well. Proctor could be a little scary. I guess you got Downs going second right now. That was the guy I was thinking about today. I was like, that would, again, I don't know if you'd want to double up in the secondary and have Downs and Hamilton, but also why wouldn't you? And that would be, I guess, in my mind, like the defensive version of what Tampa Bay did when they took Mbuka. And it's like, well, let's just have Mbuka and Godwin and Evans if everybody is healthy. Or also, Evans and Godwin are always getting hurt, so let's just have Mbuka as well, too. And that's kind of what's happening. But not to say that Kyle Hamilton has an injury thing. But again, Downs and Hamilton would just be like a crazy safety duo, and their ability to make plays all over the field would be insane. But yeah, like Bane would be crazy there to help that team out again. You got a couple of Clemson guys, 3 Clemson guys in the top 15 of the draft. Tankathon, call in and defend yourself. Hey, yo, are you saying is Tankathon? Did they only watch the North Carolina game? I don't know. They're just really using that to validate what's going on here, I guess. You know, Miami, shout out there, having a great season there, guys. They're way up on the list. Jeremiah Love, 13, chat. Is he on that running back tier? This is an interesting draft, chat. Tankathon, we got beef. You know, usually the Tankathon list is a good one to consult. Maybe we're not locked in. Maybe we got to look in the mirror and call our own selves out. I don't know. But Denzel Boston, yeah, he seems like Antonio Williams. 10 receptions for 86 yards. This literally only watching the North Carolina game, unless he got hurt earlier in the year or something, and we just weren't paying attention there. Drew Aller now at 35. So I guess, you know, this is going to change, pause massively, before we get to the draft. You know, Keldrick Falk. I'm just thinking, okay, the non-Clemson guys probably going to go up on this list, or maybe we step away from the Clemson season and they go up on the list after they're removed from team success. Darnold to JSN down the field. So this is the receiver. This is the Jamar Chase, you know, Justin Jefferson battle. And I know, again, those guys have had years in the league where they have been the best receivers in the league already and won their receiving titles and have a little bit more to show for it than JSN and Mbuka at this point. But guys from the same school at the same time, both kind of dominating a game. I mean, you know, early stats wise, do we have to look here and see? Like, I don't know if if Jefferson and Jamar Chase have played each other a ton, but you know, I feel like the NFL does know that is a good matchup as well too. Yeah, I'd say they just played, but again, quarterback wise, a little bit neutralized. You know, Darnold and Baker, a much better actually. You know, I don't know if we have to remind you guys, but a much better quarterback matchup than Browning and Carson Wentz. But yeah, I don't know if Chase had a great game. 5 for 50 for Chase, no touchdowns. And Jefferson, 5 for 75, no touchdowns. So again, back on pace today for Jetta anyways, against the Browns. But here, let's double check any other games that he's had against Chase. Because yeah, I guess both of them have scored at least early, and both of them have hit a couple of big plays. So it's not to say that they didn't hit big plays in the games they played, but I guess they didn't score this last time. 2021 at 24-27 overtime game. Oh yeah, week 1. I was gonna say I feel like they branded it every time, so it's not like I've not heard about this matchup happening in the past. Not in 2022. It doesn't look like, and not in 2023. Of course, his season getting interrupted there in the middle, and then last year 2024. Doesn't look like they've matched up there as well. So yeah, I guess just the one other matchup then to start the season. And again, Jetta went 5 for 71, so it's not like he had a all-time day, I guess, in that one. And then Jamar Chase, he did have a good game, 5 for 101 and a touchdown. So Jamar has the upper hand right now, but I guess overall, the best total game for these two guys is, here, let's double check, and Thielen. Ayo had the day, 9 for 92 and 2 touchdowns, and he had 10 targets in this game. Jetta did have 9, but here, wait, can we do math, chat? So we've got 172 yards and 10 touchdowns and a touchdown as the best combined stat line from in a game so far. So I guess here, I was going to look up the stat line on my phone, but I guess let me look it up here. So, I guess we might as well, but it's not final yet. We got to find the game that's going live here and see where we're at. The scoring is almost matched that game as well, too. Third quarter, 21-21. Yardage, it's not going to be super crazy early, but yeah, after that play, JSN's at 6 for 99 and a touchdown, and Mbuka's at 3 for 53 and a touchdown. So already at 2 touchdowns is the most there, and they're sitting at 152 yards. So 9 receptions, 152 yards, and 2 touchdowns, chat. Again, I don't know if Ohio State is going to take the belt as the best receiver college because of one game where they both play pretty well against each other, against each other's teams, because we do need to see the same level of consistent production that we have seen from Jefferson and Chase over the course of the start of their careers. But, again, as in terms of entertainment value, the head-to-head matchup, this could get that, one for sure. as well. So, Charlotte's still hanging with the Thunder, chat. I guess we just totally abandoned the full live stream of Commanders versus Chargers. But again, the NBA versus the NFL, I feel like NBA preseason game moving okay. So we might actually get through this game and be able to go back and, throw in like the fourth quarter for that as well too. But hey, chat, we'll make a decision on that after the break. When we return, we've still got, of course, the rest of the late slate here to react to, and still more of the early games to mention as well. So don't go anywhere, chat. Hey, don't turn the dial. The NBA preseason game is still on in the background, so you're not going to want to miss it. Coming up next. All right, chat, we're back, and make no mistake, like I said, I can't stop paying attention to the preseason game, and I also kept saying that Charlotte, they're over here, they're hanging around with the Thunder, and it just kind of dawned on me as well, too, that I just was putting the two together, like, oh yeah, this is the Thunder's backup against the Charlotte Thunder. Like, that means the Charlotte Thunder are actually losing to the Oklahoma City backup. Again, shout out to Oklahoma City for the depth and the organizational stability, but also, if we do like Charlotte this year as just a feisty team in the East, as good as Oklahoma City is as the defending champs, their starting unit should still probably be able to beat their bench. It is what it is. Pause. They should probably be able to go out there and at least get a win in a preseason, or at least, again, win. We're saying win, score more in the second half, whatever the technical way to put it is. It's 70 to 57 with 20 seconds left in the second quarter in favor of the Oklahoma City Blue are getting a win right now over the Charlotte Hornets. So IT, go back and edit out all the LaMelo hype that we said. We'll still, leaving the part that says that we'll take the gamble on the Spurs, but maybe it'll just be more like a random throw-in instead of a whole ramble, a whole splooge of LaMelo talk there for a second. But Miller in the corner again. His maybe this will be the proof. It's like, okay, see what happened in the preseason. None of these guys can score. I need to take over in the regular season, and it needs to be my team. That's Wiggins. I was gonna say, is Jalen Williams playing? And you still got again Wiggins and Isaiah Joe and some of those guys, like, they were playing. Some of those guys were playing in the finals, but other than that, most of those guys are that G League Finals team we were talking about. Is that Ibuka again? Oh, chat burned him deep. I don't know who the defender was there. I can't. They got it in the split screen right now on Red Zone. So I want to say it was. Is it Job, the safety that he burned on the route? And Job was able to tackle him first and goal. So shout out. But Ibuka now goes 5 for 128 for a touchdown. So him and JSN, like we're saying, have a better competitive matchup in each other's games than Chase and Jefferson. So again, Darnold and Baker are better quarterbacks. Chase did have Burrow in that last game. So I guess, did Jefferson have Cousins in that 2021 game? I didn't necessarily pay attention to who his quarterback was there. So maybe should have looked at that a little bit closer. But again, both these guys are producing, winning their routes one-on-one, and both of these quarterbacks are really relying on these guys right now to move the ball down the field. And the Bucks walk in on the goal line touchdown, Rashad White getting the looks without Bucky Irving. Another, lucky fantasy moment for us is the fact that this week starts up with the week that Bijan's on bye. So we're playing a team that drafted Bijan, and he's on bye, and also Bucky Irving on bye as well too. So, we're definitely going to be thankful for our fortunate luck in the matchups, but also, take advantage and hopefully win and move on. And, hopefully just, again, capitalizing on a good situation is just good fantasy karma as well too. But the Bucks now regain the lead. Tampa Bay Bucks. No, we're not talking about the NBA Bucks. Not yet. Even though, like we said, we do have preseason on in the background as well. But Washington did drive the first drive of the half as well and get the score. So that shows you, that giving up that touchdown at the end of the first half, kind of a feisty play. I didn't even realize that the Commanders were going to start with the football there. But now they've swung the game, and they have the advantage. But, chat, should we mention the Denver-Philly game? We probably should, chat. Denver. They get Philly's win streak at 20 games to end. I don't know if there was some home stuff there as well, too. But, we were talking to our neighbor last week, and he was talking about the upcoming schedule, and we were talking about, there's, of course, a stat that the Broncos fans are saying right now about the fourth quarter and about how the minutes led versus the, again, the end results have been a little out of whack at this point, where they've basically been winning the entire fourth quarter, but again, haven't necessarily won a lot of the games at this point. They're still a 500 team going into this game, and there was some stats about Bo Nix that were a little discouraging as well too through the first month of the season. But the one thing our neighbor told us actually before the season that we were keeping in mind this whole month, and maybe is we're seeing into effect now as well too, is that Sean Payton in September is like a real thing. I guess the win-loss record in September for him and his career is not great, and I think the October win percentage specifically as well too is, in direct contrast to that, one of the all-time best maybe, or I don't know if it was the collection of months outside of, like, it's a little Zach Taylor, but actually on the other, like, also really good end of it as well too, pause. And, like, if Zach Taylor had actually won a Super Bowl, maybe is that Sean Payton and Zach Taylor with a Super Bowl? I don't know. But there was a little, like, September is not a great month for him. So once you get out of that, this is going to be obviously a real more version of the team as it would be for, for every other team. But he was, in the conversation, he was saying, like, this Philly game, of course, is going to be, and I'm sure, obviously, as Broncos fans, we're not necessarily hyped about going into Philadelphia in this one. And I'm sure he was probably thinking along the same lines myself, because I didn't want to say it and jinx it and be like, I don't know, this could be a sneaky, just upset. And it wasn't even necessarily a Denver thing. Like, it was a Denver defense thing as well, too. But again, like, Philly's won 20 straight games. Check the tapes over the last month here, over the last course of the season. We're as pro Hurts as anybody. We're still going to be as pro Hurts after this game as anybody as well, too. But again, it's a good spot. It's a schedule loss for the season and for the Eagles franchise at this point in the run that they've had, and as dominant as they've been. And this Denver team is still, even though they're still trying to figure some stuff out on offense, obviously a really, really good team. So this is a perfect spot for Philly to go in there and drop a game. And I'm sure Denver fans maybe were like, oh, maybe, but just didn't want to jinx it. So ultimately, of course, the second half, and you see in the fourth quarter as well too, it really does turn around, and it does go to what we were saying with Philly earlier. Oh, chat, what was the yardage on this play for Herbert? Hey, Allen was definitely open. Not the most difficult pass Herbert has ever made in his career, but hey, to be able to pick up the first down on that play was crazy. I think, false start. It's going to go back. So, unfortunately, the play will not count. But, hey, Herbert, of course, has made some clutch plays. Clutch play by Allen as well, too. Little yards after the catch to actually convert the first down. But illegal formation is the call. Hey, Harbaugh, chat, has, procedurally had some issues in his tenure. So, that one takes away a big play from his offense there. But, again, for what we were saying for Philly, they have been a little bit of a one-half sort of three-quarter type team this year. And against the Rams, it was the other way around, where they were really good in the second half and were able to close the gap in that game and made some special teams plays as well, too, for sure. Obviously, that swung the game and won it. But again, offensively, stepped it up and played a different level in the second half as well, too. And just in the first three quarters of this game, you see the consistency. I mean, Denver scored, 18 of their 21 in the fourth quarter, and Philly wasn't, high-powered offense throughout this one. Again, Denver's defense is good, so you expect it to be a little slower, potentially as well, too. But Hurts was moving the ball up and down the field, and the offense was just methodical, and Hurts, again, taking the underneath stuff, but it's like, okay, they don't really have, it doesn't seem like their run game is really in full effect this year as well, too. I mean, Hurts, when he creates with his legs, he definitely can get stuff going, but they only had 6 carries as well for a team that was leading the entire game. The play calling has not been particularly dynamic this year, and you maybe use the passing as an excuse. And Denver's secondary and their run deep, like, you're gonna maybe, with the stats they put up so far this year, attack their secondary versus attacking their run game. But regardless, you still have Saquon. You're still probably gonna want to get him more involved as well too. And he, again, 6 carries. I guess he had a long of 17, so 5 for 13. Can I do math, chat? Hey, Rem can't do math. It's definitely a reoccurring segment here in the pod, but is not the most productive other carries outside of that. But still, the fact that he was able to get one run going and still, effective in the passing game as well too. I guess 3 receptions on 3 targets, but definitely felt like they could have committed to that a little bit more in this game. But regardless, Hurts was still able to, be productive with the offense. And unfortunately in the second half, and I don't know if all 6 of those sacks were second half or fourth quarter, what the divide was there. But there was the late game, the conservativeness definitely showed itself late in the game. And again, that's been a thing that we have definitely looked at over the stretch of this run and been like, well, when they've needed him to elevate to this level, he has definitely done it. And again, I'm still pro Hurts after this. This is not going to be a game where, again, shout out to Russillo, but I can definitely see Russillo on his pod, shout out Rem Russillo. But, maybe some of the guys that are Rem calls out Russillo, some of the guys that aren't the most pro Hurts are going to, the one time he loses a game, the first time in 20 games, are going to be like, this is, and again, with the way that the conservativeness in the offense was able to make a difference, it's going to be like, this is what we're talking about in these games. Like, finally, it reared its ugly head. And it's like, well, what does that mean finally? Like, the man just went 20 games where he won, every game. And also some of those games were in the playoffs. And in the course of that run, it was like the most impressive playoff run that we've ever seen. Again, we could go through and look at the opponents, but when you also dominate the opponents that impressively, it kind of makes me go, okay, you're legit. If you struggle, and if it was like an NBA playoff team that had to go 7 games against every team and barely beat, 8, we talk about, we're not talking about hopefully Milwaukee's title, but, hey, shout out Giannis. But also, we're more pro Giannis on this pod. Just to remind you, maybe not after that comment, IT, cut it out. But, again, he showed so much over the course of that stretch and to produce in the playoffs. And also, that was his second Super Bowl. Like, he's been in a Super Bowl before. So I don't really know why we have to doubt him at this point. He's the new Flacco. It's like, is this guy elite? We have to always just be questioning whether or not this guy is elite week to week. And then when he has a bad result in terms of a game perspective, then it's just Jalen Hurts is not one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But again, the run that he just had was absolutely one of the most dominant. And unfortunately, I don't know if this is going to, again, the Eagles fans are going to be like, oh, but, Hurts, he can't be trusted in these big moments because he won't necessarily, do a little too much. But this would have been a game where it would have felt like him being a little bit more aggressive and pushing it down the field, or, I don't know, maybe making a quicker decision with his legs a couple times as well and not taking the sack would have actually, again, just him maybe taking a couple of chances would have actually have been really great. But he's also been so good in the playoffs that it's not like I still don't trust him to elevate in a playoff moment as well too. So if he has another, if he does have a bad playoff run this year, I mean, we all know that, Hurts is not like, oh, are they going to be drafting in, Nussmeier 20-something in the draft and be like, oh, all of a sudden the Hurts timeline starts all over again and how he will replace it. Maybe we are, as I say that, I'm like, oh, no, I can see it happening now. We always, Drew Aller, but Drew Aller is not, like Hurts, again, was doing this in college. And Hurts, by the time he was with Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma, and actually the best offensive coach he's ever had from a play calling standpoint, he was, a Heisman level candidate and an elite passer. So I know, system, whatever, good team, whatever, but also he can command these teams as well too. And I don't know if the system is that great right now. And the team is still really, really good, and also, maximize the receivers a little bit. And that, I think, is also, how Denver offensively was able to pick it up in the fourth quarter is a little bit tough. Because like we said, Bo Nix hasn't been, 100% dialed in on some of these down the field throws. But in contrast to Hurts, he has been pushing it down the field a little bit and just hasn't quite been able to convert on some of these plays. And some of the Denver receivers as well too haven't necessarily helped him out from time to time. But late in the game, it really did feel like they were feeding Sutton a lot of the passes, and he was able to make a lot of tough one-on-one catches, and they were just trusting their best receiver to make those good plays on the sideline. And that's exactly what I think Eagles fans want Hurts to do, of course, with A.J. Brown. And I think he did do that with Devontae Smith a little bit. That play, there was a play that got called back where he heaved it up to Smith, and Smith made the one-on-one catch. And, they had that play, was it against Dallas? They had that play earlier in the season where it was that down the field pass to Smith. Maybe that was against the Chiefs where it was like a third down and got him inside the goal to go. I can see it on the sideline, him making that one-on-one. Yeah, so I think it was against McDuffie as well. The memory's starting to form, chat. Hey, yo, it is what it is. But he has trusted his receivers in those moments, and his receivers have converted. So I know you have to be patient. It's not maybe always the most opportunities, and he's going to be safe more often than not. And maybe once every 20 games, it doesn't work out. And again, there are some penalties as well, too, over the course of this one. And maybe the penalties have been the most killer thing this year, honestly, for this team. I don't know if we go game to game and see where they're at. And let's double check where they were at for this game. Hey, yo, Denver, chat. actually had more. So neither team was crazy. Denver had 12 for 121 and won this game. That's actually insane, chat. Hey, yo, even worse for Philly, but 9 for 55, and, the timing of their last one as well, too. Pretty costly. And was there the late hit as well from Bond? So they had that late hit on defense and the penalty on offense as well, too, that turned the game. And they've been good in a Kansas City type way in the execution of those things down the stretch, where they'll get the turnover, they'll get the third down stop, they'll get off the field, make the drive for the field goal on the other end, and that barely win type of effect when they need to. But they had a couple of not executing type plays, I guess, in the fourth quarter for this one. And again, Denver trusted their star receiver on the outside to make plays as well too. And their pass rush has been good this year. And like we're saying, this defense has been elite. So for them to step up in the second half and actually lock in, it's like, okay, this is what that defense can be. Them taking out Hurts, I don't think is, again, super detrimental to where they're at in the entire season as well. But I think it more so it's just going to be now we're going to have to hear all of the storylines about what Jalen Hurts is. Because, again, a guy like Herbert has a tough game. Like, Herbert kind of, I don't even remember, did they lose the game last week? Like, Herbert was not good in a large portion of that game. But, if he bounces back and has an elite game afterwards, or wins a game and is like, B+ to A- level good, then it's like, yeah, remember, Herbert's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But if Hurts has a bad game, then he's not that good, and then his good games are just people waiting for him to have bad games again. I don't really get it. I know Sam has been a defender of Hurts going back to college as well too, and now I feel like now I just sound like Sam repeating some of the Hurts storylines from even back in the day, where it's like, why don't we give this winner the benefit of the doubt like we do some of these other winners as well? And I totally agree with where we're at this point in the season, even after this game. Like, again, this game is only a chance to go, at least and if it turns into a stretch, I guess, then, it is what it is. Call me wrong, I guess, because that's what I'll be. And their Hurts, will be able to point back to this game and be like, we saw it all start in this moment. But I think that this is just like, okay, this was a crazy run. This was a perfect setup for them to have a big schedule loss. Hurts was still, 90% good, even if that's still what frustrates Eagles fans. But I don't, the takeaway from me more so is, there's just a blandness to this offense, a lack of creativity, that at least having, some like Kellen Moore in the mix and some of the other play callers that they've had over the last couple of years were able to, they were able to provide it. I don't know if it's going to be a switch up thing, or they just have to try to, make a conservative effort to be more creative, do a little promoting from the inside. Be like, okay, who do we got on the, the receivers coach is maybe, got some offensive stuff up his sleeve that we're going to try to get into the mix. But they've got to try to, I think, actually help Hurts out a little bit as well too, which is what we actually see some of the other good coaches in the league actually doing, and putting their quarterbacks in a spot to succeed. And not to say that, again, Hurts doesn't have the talent around him, doesn't have the personnel, has not been put in that spot over the last couple of years. But this season, I think with what they're rolling out there from an offensive standpoint is just a little predictable. And it is, again, because Hurts I think leans a little bit safer. I think you would need to strategize the way to balance out some of those attacking looks. And maybe when they do definitely, again, have them in there late in the games, like we're saying, he does take his shots to those receivers as well. But for, I guess, if you want to just dominate games, I don't know. Again, maybe if you just want to keep Eagles fans from complaining, which I guess they're probably pretty good at tuning it out at this point, and just saying, we'll see you in the playoffs. We'll see you around the Super Bowl again. We'll see you partying in the streets in February, because, more often than not, lately Philly has been a better team. But still, I feel like this is going to be a tough game for the conversation afterwards for this team. And I don't know if they're a bye week team next week. It would be tough for them to go into a bye after a loss. And, again, after, falling apart the way that they did in the fourth quarter a little bit is pretty tough. But no, they got New York, Jackson Dart, and then Carson Wentz, and then New York again. So they're going to be, 7-1 by the time they get to their bye in week 9.
Then Green Bay, Detroit, Dallas. A little bit of an opposite, tougher spot of the schedule. Chicago Chargers, Raiders, Commanders, Bills, Commanders to end the year. So the Bills, Week 17 as well, too, is going to be a crazy high-level matchup as well. But they will have 3 games in here to adjust. And, good, like we're saying, Giants defense, divisional games. I'm sure one of those games will be feisty. I'm sure that they will be able to play them competitively in a way that, again, Eagles fans are going to be like, oh, there's going to be something to complain about here. But I feel like we have a good chance for Hurts revenge as well, too. And more importantly, maybe some leeway with the Giants offense. The way that they've looked over the last couple of weeks, speaking of conservative, chat, hey, if there's any hope for Jackson Dart, I mean, they got the win as a rookie as well, too. So that was making people feel, oh, yeah, because they were playing Herbert in that game. So, yeah, Herbert was not good in that game. And, again, I guess he's not necessarily winning so far. I mean, they have been winning at times. But they were losing. Let's see here. That game wasn't on the red zone. Right now, yeah, Washington's up 20-10, chat. So Washington is proving themselves a feisty team here. Maybe Harbaugh. Harbaugh is going to be back at Michigan, chat. I don't know. Sharon Moore, I don't know, assistant to Sharon Moore. I feel like there was this was a good game for Michigan, but a little clumsy at times for sure. But Herbert, 14 for 16 today. Hey, yo. So this is going to be the Herbert fans. See, not the problem. Hampton, 11 for 41. So the Chargers not giving up their identity, chat. But see, I mean, even if the Chargers can give 11 carries to Hampton by the halfway through the third, a third of the way through the third quarter, then Barkley should have been at least on pace with that as well, too. I know Commanders defense, like we're saying, versus the Broncos run defense. But they will have to, I think, do a little soul search in their offensive game planning wise and figure out how to unlock a little bit more over the next rest of the season here. But Denver, a little bit of a sigh of relief for the Broncos community, as it's like, okay, at least now we've seen them compete with the best teams in the league in a real way. And again, there was the 3-quarter effect. The 4th quarter effect is this team is so close to being a really good team. And I think, you saw it in that 4th quarter. Maybe it was the panic and the quickness that they had to play with as well, too. And it's like, okay, we can do one thing. We can get it to Sutton. We can, and the run game as well, too. Like, and that was a sort of Michigan-esque thing, I guess, bringing Michigan back into it, thing with the run game where, again, we were monitoring Dobbins' stats because of fantasy now, but early on, Philly was actually doing a pretty good job of containing everything. And then the offensive line, and it seemed like the power element there was able to actually, over the course of the game, continue to wear down on Philly. And actually, their run game was getting effective by the end of the game there as well a little bit. And what was kind of starting to form in the 4th quarter, of course, appeared encouraging. So I don't know if there's a way to, hopefully replicate a version of that offense, just not outside of a 2-minute drill, and actually find again, the run game has been good, so. And it did feel like, again, it was a lot of the stuff to Sutton down the field, but it has been a lot of the stuff of receivers, going vertical up the sideline, and it felt like there was more of the receivers kind of back shoulder fades this time, maybe stuff more in the 8 to 12 yard range versus the 15 to 20 yard range, 20 to 25 yard range. And again, he's just been missing a lot of that stuff down the field. So it did feel like they shortened a lot. I don't know if we'll do, passing chart tomorrow, look at the numbers and, double check and be like, oh yeah, actually everything was a little bit closer. But it felt like when he was cooking, it was quicker. Again, of course, quicker decisions always going to be better at quarterback. But it wasn't being so aggressive every time, pushing the ball down the field and trying to hit big plays. He was just trusting his guys to win on the outside and moving the ball a little bit more methodically as well, too. And they did have, again, to work back a little bit in this game. So his ability to remain calm and just lead drives as well is going to give you hope in playoff and big game type scenarios. So he's been, like, with the defense and the offensive line, it's just been waiting for the quarterback skill guy thing to kind of mesh together in the right way. And still
to see it for a full game and obviously see it for a stretch would be the most confirming thing about where this team is at. Oh, Chad Herbert falling to the ground on the sack, whips it out to the sideline, but it's almost caught by the Commanders defender. Would have been more of an impressive catch that way than it was actually closer to any of the Chargers receivers. I mean, impressive throw. Ayo, Herbert, was his knee down, so it might be a sack. I mean, it's a impressive show of arm strength, twisting around to be able to flip it out like that. Even if he was planted on the ground, actually, maybe that's the sign. They're like, he can't throw it. Even Herbert can't throw it off his knees like that. There's no way. Hey, yo, power. But still, obviously, we're saying an impressive display of Herbert's quarterbacking, power, I guess, quarterbacking ability. But Chet, 3rd and 14, attacking the sticks again to McConkey. So McConkey is getting open here. He is working on Sandstrom as well too, so I think that would be Commanders, hopefully their best corner. But McConkey giving him a little bit of the work here in this game. And Lutz with the couple of big field goals as well too early on in the game, keeping Denver around. So yeah, shout out again for Denver. Finally, Nant said the signature win, but again, it's more like, okay, Denver is actually, at least we can be a good team and have a moment to compete with good teams. Maybe Denver is a little of the play to competition team this year, where maybe this is the September thing, like we're saying, October, as the season continues to go forward, the Peyton group continues to figure it out a little bit, and by the end of the year, it's just a much different team. I mean, I could definitely see that happening for sure. But I could also see it being a little bit of a play to the competition team, and maybe in some of the games, like, there's going to be a Raiders game later in the year where it's like, why are the Raiders hanging around with Denver? Like, that's a little discouraging. But then they're going to be able to compete with Kansas City and also compete with Denver and compete with the Chargers and compete with all these top teams as well, too. So, hopefully it would be more of the team just continues to pick up momentum over the course of the season and is playing way better, obviously, and not the other option that we laid out. But we'll see if the Sean Payton consistency is able to continue to trend forward here as well, too. So we've got, we had Denver at Philly in the early window. And the other most competitive game, honestly, turned out to be this Miami versus Carolina game. Hey, yo. Again, the score was pretty close, but the fourth quarter, 14-7, Carolina in the fourth quarter. I guess 14-10 in the second quarter as well, too. So there was, again, moments of the teams going back and forth and putting up points and responding. And Bryce Young answering the bell with the late drives to help give his team the lead. When was that last drive taking place? They got that last drive with 1:49 left on the clock. And, again, there was a going back and forth where they went down. They were, down 13-17 for most of the third quarter. Yeah, because they kicked the field goal. I guess, worked their way back down from 17-0 in the start of the second quarter. By halftime, 17-10. Get that field goal early in the third quarter on that first drive, and then the game just kind of stalls out until basically last bit of the fourth quarter. Carolina takes the lead, and then just immediately Dolphins go back down and score, and they take the lead. And that's been basically the Panthers storyline for a lot of the Bryce Young career, where there have been some kind of low-key competitive games, and definitely been the games where there's like the highlights and the meme type plays where you're like, can Bryce Young even play in the NFL? How is as bad as it's going to go? But there's been a lot of the games as well, too, where they've been close, they've gotten good drives, they've been around in the fourth quarter, and they just haven't quite gotten a stop or haven't quite gotten a third down, and just like a couple of plays short of actually getting the win. So it's like, okay, they get a fourth quarter lead. All we have to do is just get a couple of stops and we can actually win this game. And maybe the Dolphins offense actually will collapse on itself and maybe we'll get the stops. But when the Dolphins did score, I got to say this might be like an actual like changing, turning point for Bryce Young. I don't know if, again, we're ranking him as a top 10 quarterback in the league here. But in the past, of course, if the Dolphins had gone down and scored that touchdown, it's like, oh man, the Panthers somehow are in a position to win this game, and all they need to do is now actually make a couple of good plays. And it's like, okay, is their offense actually going to be able to go down and match them once more and score that final touchdown to be able to win the game? And I don't know if last year
I would have trusted Bryce Young to make that drive. But again, they've been a little feisty this year. Bryce Young's had some good plays. And after the Dolphins scored, and again, maybe it's the Dolphins as well, too, as their opponent. So I don't know if I'm trusting him against Philly to go down and make this drive in the playoff game. If they're in the playoffs, that's awesome. But, again, against a equal level competition, whatever, against, an NFL team, against a NFL team, the Panthers were down in the fourth quarter, and I did not trust Bryce Young in the game. I don't know if I was looking at the live odds. Maybe I should have. Maybe that's something to keep in mind. Maybe if I'm talking, maybe, hey, put the money where the mouth is, pause. But, Bryce Young was about to get the ball back, and I was like, he might have, this is actually a good spot. I actually think he could take this team down the field. And they had been running the ball so well in this game. What was their rushing total as well, too? They had over 230. But was it 250 plus? How high did it go? Hey, did they outrush the Dolphins' total yards? They may have. So, rushing, 239 for rushing just for Carolina. The Dolphins' total offense was 248. So, again, Bryce Young had a couple of plays early where you're like, oh, classic Bryce Young. There's like a pump fake fumble, and Dolphins, easy kind of setup situation there. But I feel like the Panthers as well, speaking of play calling, and Canellis is, gotten Bryce Young 2-3 is the best win percentage they've ever had, for Bryce Young. This is awesome. Chat, what happened on this Cooper Kupp play? Hey, to go back and pay attention here. Some kind of screen or bobble or something? Do we get a replay? We definitely get an excited Kevin Harlan. But Sam Darnold, off the tip, chat. Sam Darnold almost threw an interception in the end zone. It went right off the defender's hands. If he had caught that would have been a touchdown. He was standing on the Seattle words in the end zone. Hey, is that Diaby? I mean, shout out the almost attempt there. The good defensive play by almost getting, the pass batted. But unfortunately, Kupp gets the catch. And DeMercado on a 3rd and 1, just right up the middle for Arizona for like a 60-yard touchdown. Callahan, he might as well just walk out of the stadium at this point, chat. Hey, just get a head start because I don't know, he's going to have to take the bus home. I don't know if a bus goes as fast as a plane, so if he wants to, get back before the team deactivates his key, he might need to leave now, third quarter. I don't know, what the time is. What's the trip? Arizona to Tennessee? We'll have to see. IT put it in the Google Maps and figure it out. But again, this was I don't want to say the first because that Cardinals game, they were just on the outside looking in. Pause a couple of games ago in the fourth quarter where it's like, okay, they probably are a little bit too far away from actually getting a comeback win here, but maybe they actually do it. So I don't know if we actually put that in a do we trust Bryce Young type category, but in an opportunity where, again, they can either go down and, I guess they couldn't have tied the game at this point, right? Because it was 20 to 24. But with him as an opportunity to just go down and make kind of a single game-winning drive type touchdown, again, Dolphins defense is a great spot. But I actually thought that Bryce Young could do it. And now it's like, okay, Bryce Young, Chad, he's an NFL quarterback. So I don't want to, be condescending from where the conversation was as a former number 1 pick and all the different stuff. But to be, it's good for Carolina that, again, it's actually trending in this direction. At least they're able to pick up some of these wins as well, too. And I guess to go back to what we were saying with the play calling, and maybe we haven't been as locked in with Canellis' play calling over the last over the last year or two, because it's like, okay, can we just get to a point where the end results are turning out good, and then maybe we'll watch more of the full games. But I don't know if they've totally mastered how to balance Bryce Young with the passing game type stuff, because I feel like when Bryce Young has a good game like this, they'll go out or and end a game well or something, they'll try to go out and get him going early, pause, and I feel like they want to build their they traded all the picks. I get it. So it's like, okay, they want to build their team around the number 1 pick as their main passer. Hey, shocker. But it's like, okay, we have to assess the team now. And how do we maximize the talent on the team? And there is still a world where if we can get the best version of the team for Bryce Young and the best version of the offense around him, then that's a very successful team. And maybe we don't know how successful quite yet, but I think that, again, obviously perfect situation, but still a perfect situation, some version of a really good situation for him. Finding whatever the maximizing it is. And their chat, DeMercado might have just pulled the Jonathan Taylor. Hey, yo, he might have just he fumbled it out of the back of the end zone. He dropped it, chat. The casual play. Oh, no, chat. We'll see if this is a turning point moment because 6-21 and you're playing the Titans. You're not feeling terrible. But if they go down and score here, they get the 2. They could make it 4. They could make it a 1-touchdown game if they have a crazy drive. So that is a potential momentum-shifting, game-shifting type play for DeMercado. Hopefully it doesn't go disastrously. Oh, Chad Darnold, he's getting a little risky on some of these throws. The out route on 3rd and 2. The defender wasn't really close, but he was getting kind of close. I don't know. Chargers defense with the stop and the fumble. On 3rd down, getting the ball at midfield. Still down 10, so they need a momentum-shifting play as well. And they need Herbert, to turn this into points here. But I guess, yeah, shout out to Bryce Young, like we're saying. He is, I know slowly but surely, shout out. I don't know if Panthers fans are just happy because it's something or if they're still, obviously like what Super Bowl expectations. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm not trying to be condescending by saying, oh, Bryce Young, shout out as an NFL quarterback. But again, he's making those strides. And I think if there's a version of this team where they really lean into the power run game thing, and I think Bryce Young as a play action quarterback running around, there's really good stuff there. And I know that there is obviously the conversations about him seeing down the field and stuff like that. But I think he can push the ball down the field really well. I don't know if you want him throwing check down stuff to the flat routes to the tight ends and the short routes to the receivers. Like, this, and I know Aaron Rodgers is in a different spot now, but the LaFleur offense type stuff, where I guess they maybe are a little play actiony as well too. But it seems like they'll run the stuff out and with Love, they're a little bit more aggressive now as well too. But I guess you don't want him, I think, being a conservative short yardage quarterback. I think you do want him operating a little bit intermediately and maybe a play action receiver kind of running over the middle of the field. I think Garoppolo, I've actually never thought about this before, but I do think Garoppolo at the peak of his powers is hey yo Chad, I don't know if you would have traded your franchise for Jimmy Garoppolo in the draft back in the day, but again, Jimmy Garoppolo is a guy in a good system with a good defense that could get you to a Super Bowl. And if he hits a throw down the field to Emmanuel Sanders, Mahomes' the legacy is totally different. So, he was close to bringing 49ers fans happiness. I know it's like, okay, is he going to be a Hall of Famer? Is Bryce Young going to, with Jimmy Garoppolo's career, be a Hall of Famer and a successful quote-unquote trade pick, whatever. But, if he almost wins the Panthers a Super Bowl, I think that's pretty good as well, too. So that would probably be a successful trade pick, honestly, at the end of the day. But yeah, I guess we just would have. What would have happened if Garoppolo, if they would have if Garoppolo would have been if Trey Lance had Garoppolo's career, that'd be a really interesting conversation about what that trade is, especially with the rest of the guys in the draft as well too. But I think that is a type of player that and Garoppolo, his aggressiveness got him into what are we talking about, Mark Sanchez or Jimmy Garoppolo here? Garoppolo's aggressiveness as a passer definitely got him into trouble a time or two, but. I think Bryce Young at his best is operating off that play action. We saw Leggett a couple of times, running down the field, McMillan on some of the in-breaking stuff. And, Dowdle was able to have a really good game today. So I don't know if they're going to be able to run for 200 yards against everybody. But I don't know if you go into the next game going, okay, Bryce Young, well, let's spread the ball out. Bryce Young's going to throw 40 times and be dotting everybody up. And again, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that there's a certain type of offense that maybe you need to lean into with Bryce Young. I don't want to say Tannehill, like with Derrick Henry as well, because okay, what quarterback with Derrick Henry when he's running for 2,000 yards isn't probably going to be productive off of play action back then? But I do think that them setting up some of Bryce Young's stuff a little bit better off of it, and maybe again it's just their effectiveness as well too. Today was awesome, so it was actually working. But I think that they actually need to be a little bit more committed to running some of that stuff instead of, again, trying to be like, we have a good young skill set. Bryce Young is Justin Herbert or Pat Mahomes or Lamar and is going to be able to dot up every guy on the field in a sit back and make the reads type of way. I think, and maybe he will be
again, like we said with Brock Purdy, like Purdy, and I don't know, Purdy's turning backwards this year. It's like, okay, he took a step forward. He's able to handle a little bit more in terms of play calling and making read responsibility type stuff. Hopefully, but at least there was a point where he was. But again, Bryce Young, Purdy, so Bryce Young on the 49ers. I think again, maybe this is the test, but I think Bryce Young on the 49ers right now, conference championship chat. Hey yo, shout out Shanahan. I don't know, better than Mac Jones, maybe. I don't know if that but Mac Jones in Carolina, I don't know if it would go as well. I mean, we saw Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield struggle, so again, Bryce Young's actually made it work. Bryce Young in Tampa with Mbuka, I don't know if I'd be drafting Mbuka as high as I did in the fantasy league, but McMillan I do like in fantasy this year, so I guess same sort of ordeal. And he is with the down the field size in the one-on-one, and if you kind of shift the defense around a little bit and just let him break across the middle of the field and just get him opportunities, there is ability for that to work. So again, I don't know if Carolina's a playoff team this year. I don't know if they're going to win the NFC South over Tampa, but I think their ability to be competitive in some of these games and not necessarily feel like they're the worst team in the league. So, again, worst team in the league rankings, I don't know if that's the one we need to focus on at this point, but yeah, the Jets, that was a tough one, chat. That was a tough one for the first, 3.5 quarters of that game. I think we'll really have to see what if Tennessee does not capitalize on the momentum here, and again, the only reason that they're not the number one team on Tankathon Draft right now is because their game's still going. The Jets game is over, and the Tennessee game is in the fourth quarter. So once that game goes final, then they'll be back to number one probably. I don't know, points scored if there's a little bit of an actual, because I guess the Jets offense was, get a little bit later. But Tennessee, if they're not able to capitalize on this momentum, that is tough. Yeah, I guess Miami actually losing to Carolina shows the discrepancy as well too. But for the Miami side of things, and the Tyreek Hill thing from a talent standpoint is definitely, obviously it's brutal. It's brutal for a Tyreek Hill, obviously health thing as well too. Like we're saying, hopefully the recovery goes well there. But I do wonder if, and I don't know if you can call it Tyreek Hill Ewing theory, if you score 24 points in a loss to the Panthers. But I do wonder if there is a little bit of, okay, again, he's still the best receiver that they have, but obviously he's not happy. So we all saw the videos of him smiling in the ambulance and stuff like that. Like, they just inject him with pain meds right away. Like, maybe he was already on it before that. I don't know, Chad. I don't know what was going on. But the IT might have to cut that out. It's the lawsuit, right? The Remington get sued. Hey, TMZ headline. But we got, of course, maybe with a little bit of a happier receiving core, it actually does work a little bit better. And Tua, he hasn't turned the ball over in the last couple of games. And again, they haven't, no run game in this one to speak of, 10 for 16. The Carolina front seven was playing really well in this one. And their secondaries played well in this game, or in the couple of games before this. So we have to, or, I guess J.C. Horn has had some good moments, maybe is what we should actually say. And like we're saying, Tua was able to put up good stats today. So here, let's go Tua actually the last two games and see, because I feel like now he's already at 1,000 yards. I guess he's actually 28, so that's actually not that great. We're 5 games in at this point. The league is cooking right now, so I guess he's only projected for 3,400. Hey yo, so we gotta settle down. But I guess where do we got? Last 2, here we go, as a game log. And it was a win, so I guess maybe not the most impressive stat line, but no turnovers anyways after back-to-back games, and 3 games in a row with 4 picks total over the course of those games. Oh, chat, did the Chargers just turn it over? Is that Sandstrill, our guy Sandstrill, getting the interception, or was it a fumble? I think he just picked off Herbert. McConkey's been giving him the work today, but he is a guy that will step up and make a play. Shout out. Oh, I think he might have Herbert got hit on the play. Shout out. He was going to Keenan Allen, but just threw it behind him because of that. Sandstrill, though, like we're saying, still able to convert. So Keenan Allen, maybe he was a step in front of Sandstrill, but fortunately the pressure is effective. Is that a Buka again? Oh, Chad, I wish it was. Sheffield. Oh, Shepard, Sterling Shepard. Ayo, I was like, Sheffield, speaking of the Dolphins. Ayo, we did like him over there. So game of the year contender, chat. Tampa versus Seattle.
Mbuka versus JSN is not only a great individual matchup, it's a game of the year. It's an all-time classic. I think game of the year still Ravens Bills, but again, maybe not the best three-quarter game. Really good fourth quarter. This has been a really good three-quarter game. These teams have been battling the entire time. And again, the individual performances are insane. Let's see, chat, because again, we are battling in fantasy this week. JSN versus Ibuka. Ibuka with 39. JSN with 35. Hey, yo, so Ibuka's got 7 for 163 and a touchdown. JSN for 8 for 132 and a touchdown. Oh, I wish I would have gotten JSN. I know Josh Allen plays he plays the Sunday night game, and having Josh Allen at quarterback, I'm not going to regret that. Make no mistake. But I wonder if I should have taken, because I knew I was going to get Drake May. There was one guy, shout out a friend, he's the real Gibby now, chat. Ayo, I know there's the Gibby from, is it iCarly? I only know Gibby from iCarly because we call our friend Gibby, and we don't call him Gibby because of iCarly, but there it's just the competitiveness. Who's the other famous Gibby out there? So shout out this guy for taking I forget who we were just talking about as well too from a fantasy standpoint. Oh, Drake May. He was the other guy. I was like, he's locked in for fantasy. He might take Drake May. So shout out. But he did end up falling in the draft, and we took him as our backup as well too. So he's on our team. So we have the number 1 and number 2 quarterback, or I guess number 2 and number 3. Josh Allen's number 3. Is this updated for currently? Or is Drake May's number 5? Yeah, it might be updated for some of the games today, because I think going into it, Allen was 1 and Drake May was 2 on ESPN. But I wonder if, and again, Garrett Wilson got 20 today, so it's not a overall, and I'm complaining about having a good fantasy team, but I wonder if the move would have been to take Drake May later and just overdraft JSN. Because JSN and Mbuka, there's no way that doesn't turn out good. The Garrett Wilson thing, and being invested in fantasy, this has changed of course, how you interpret some of the individual players, because I thought one of the things that would benefit Fields this year would be the fact that there'd be no pressure to, he'd be the starter for the entire season. And there's really no other direction to go from a quarterback standpoint, and he would just be the guy. And, Garrett Wilson was putting up some good numbers as well, too, early in the year. But it's like, okay, maybe, the first couple quarters of this game, it's like maybe we do need to bring Tyrod Taylor back, chat. Ayo, just from a fantasy standpoint, keep some of these guys relevant. So Justin Fields with one of the all-time fantasy garbage time touchdowns to Garrett Wilson. This game was over, chat. Can we go to the score here real quick and see what was the score when Garrett Wilson got that touchdown? Maybe it did end up being a little bit, I guess it's not really close. 22-37 is pretty decisive. But here, scoring plays, Garrett Wilson touchdown. Yeah, a minute 42 left in the fourth quarter. It was 37-14. 37-14. Cut it to 37-22, I guess, when they got the 2-point conversion. But again, one of the absolute all-time garbage touchdowns. So Garrett Wilson, 6 for 71 and a touchdown is a really... Oh, chat! Tampa, what just happened? We're over here rambling about fantasy. Tampa just picked off Sam Darnold. Is that a linebacker? Oh, chat. And Mbuka might get the win at the end of the day. Is it going to be Darnold? Oh, chat, he threw it off of somebody's helmet. Baker's been the fourth quarter clutch guy, even if it didn't work against Philly. Again, shout out to Philly as well, too, for winning 20 straight games. But Baker has been the fourth quarter clutch guy, and maybe it happens again here. Another one-score game, I guess it would be them winning on the last play of the game. They would actually take, but there's 53 seconds here, so it could actually happen. It could actually happen again. Baker Mayfield, chat. I don't know if these wins are, well, I guess the Seattle win's legit. The Philly win's tough in terms of, are you an elite team? But it's very clear that they are they might be in their own tier as the next team in the NFC. Maybe it's them and the Rams. Maybe it's still, you still got to have Philly as a tier 1 team. Detroit, honestly, may now be emerging, and they get lucky today. Well, I guess 28-17. We did say there was gonna be drama, so shout out. I think Detroit's probably gonna win this one. 10 minutes left though. It's getting a little closer than you would like. 28-3. And they gave up a couple of Jamar Chase, 64 yards. Ooh, you forget that he can make a play, Chad. He can make a play. Does he have an earbud in? We're over here talking about the wide receiver changing hands. And he's like, well, let me just put up 6 for 110 and a touchdown real fast with Jake Browning as my quarterback. He's got 110 of Jake Browning's 200 yards. Is pretty crazy. 1 sack for 7, and I know that was the safety. So it did result in points for... Or no, that's right, they took that away. So I guess they did get pressure multiple times. Maybe there's some more penalties that took those away, but 1 sack on the game is kind of tough as well, too. You know, Hutchinson not being able to get back into the backfield again and complete a play is a little tough for the Lions defense there. Laporta with a big one today, pause. But he's got 5 for 92 and a touchdown. Gibbs with the receiving touchdown in the mix. So Montgomery's got a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown. Hey, yo, chat. 17? So, like we said, you know, Champ is a Lions fan. He is the one with JSN in our fantasy league. So do we give him... Is there any way we could get, like, Montgomery and Garrett Wilson? I'll overpay for JSN because I don't really want... Well, I guess I just don't want the Jets offense. And I know Darnold, you know, he may make a chaotic play, but he's going to be able to feed JSN outside of garbage time. And maybe, and I feel like we go back through Fields' career, like we might have to put him into the fantasy garbage time Hall of Fame. Like he really is an elite fourth quarter down 20. He's one of the best players you can have in fantasy in the fourth quarter, make no mistake. But I still would rather have a player that can put up, you know, points for the first 3 quarters rather than the fourth. So that would be JSN for sure. You know, Javonte did have a good game, so maybe he wants to sell high on Javonte. I don't know, but maybe just go like a, you know, Keon Coleman is sitting on the bench as well too. I don't know, chat. Let us know. JSN and Keon. Well, I guess for us it would be Montgomery and Garrett Wilson for JSN and Keon Coleman. Losing the running back depth there would be tough, but Broncos run game, I think for the rest of the season it'll at least be okay. So we should hold down our flex spot. Oh, and did Cam Ward just throw a pick? Cam Ward just threw a pick that the Cardinals just fumbled into the end zone. Oh, chat! Arizona has done it again somehow. Somehow Arizona in the fourth quarter has found a way to give a game away. I mean, they didn't give that Panthers game away, but they gave up an onside kick, which is like the most rare thing that happens in the NFL now. Teams never get onside kicks with the new rules, and somehow Carolina got an onside kick against Arizona, and Arizona just picked off Cam Ward. They picked off we haven't even confirmed that Cam Ward is playing. I'm pretty sure he is, but for some reason I just got to double check here and see what is happening. Yeah, Tyler Lockett Cam Ward threw an interception that Arizona fumbled, and Tyler Lockett recovered for a touchdown. So what, they go for 2 here, make it 20? I guess you just kick the field goal and try to keep it a 1-score game because, well, it's still a 1-score game even without the 2. So I don't know. Callahan might just go for 2 because it doesn't even matter. So he just might get greedy. But that is all-time stuff here, Chad. Hey, so he'll take the extra point. Hey, he'll play it safe. Now, I just whatever Callahan does is the right. Again, I don't have analytics in front of me, so this feels like a close call. It could be a 51-49 on the analytics, but whatever Callahan chose is definitely the opposite call there. So it scores similar enough both ways that ultimately you're gonna need your defense to get a stop. It's like, okay, do we get a defense now? The problem is now, you know, if the defense getting a stop is not even giving up 1 play. If the defense gives up 1 play, then they lose the game, getting in field goal range. And Baker Mayfield does it again, Chad. The Buccaneers on the final play of the game. So that's a little bit different. They get the turnover in, scoring territory, so they can run the clock down a little bit intentionally there, but still they get that turnover with less than a minute left. So it all is, kind of the same. But 38-35. So, an awesome game again, 2nd through 4th quarters, scoring all the way around. I think this might, Josh Allen and Lamar, Chad, they're just individually too much fun to watch. So that's still probably game of the year. But this is craziness play of the year. Cam Ward tipped at the line as well. I guess tipped on the, is that going to be possession? On the interception is going to be the tough thing to judge there. It looked in real time. I mean, we were reacting to it kind of like it was an interception. He catches that. He never really has control of his body, which is ultimately, I think, why I guess He goes to the ground. So does the Tennessee guy touch him before he loses possession of the ball is going to be the tough thing to, I guess, what you should watch for there. No, yeah, he loses that. He goes to the ground. I guess, did he get touched, as he was running away? And then would that count? Ayo, pause? Like, I don't know. But that looks like it might actually be a fumble. That's crazy, chat. So, yeah, he caught it, stumbles forward, never has control of himself, and just loses it when he hits the ground. Ayo, pause. I think maybe, has that happened to a couple of us a time before? I don't know. But this time with the football for our guy from, our guy. So shout out. But, ayo, not great. But we do have drama, I guess, as well, too, in the Washington versus Chargers game. Pass interference on the guy guarding Deebo Samuel. Yeah, chat. I guess that one is that's pretty obvious. So, shout out to the Bucks chat for, I guess, being the dramatic team of the season. It is what it is. Do we need another NFL award? Just entertainment MVP? Because Baker might be the entertainment MVP. Hey, yo, chat, and this was an MVP. I guess look at both these guys. Hey, yo, we were highlighting the receivers because they were having so much fun. And, we don't have either of these quarterbacks in fantasy. But Baker, 29 for 23 for 379 and 2 touchdowns. Sam Darnold, 28 for 34, 341, 4-1 touchdown. So, yeah, I think this is game of the year so far, chat. Do we have to go back? I mean, I guess Allen and Lamar stats, there's no way they're not good in that game. And Henry, I think, was having a good game as well, too, outside of the fumble. So they were also, having the run dynamic in the mix as well. I guess, Lamar, 14 for 19 for 209 and 2 touchdowns. He had 6 for 70 and a carry, though. So, 6 for 70 and a touchdown from a rushing standpoint. So, he's going to have elite stats by the end of the game. Allen, 394 and 2 touchdowns is pretty crazy. 14 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns, 14 attempts, 30 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the rushing stat line as well. So, it's close. It's close. I guess they did get 40-41, so there's even more points scored in the game. But, and, they both end on turnovers as well, too. Not necessarily, final drives, like totally awesome offensive plays. But this is at least silver medal for game of the year. Did we say anything bad there, chat? Hopefully not. IT can double check in a second. But I guess White, 2 touchdowns from the ground. Maybe not the best overall rushing game. But yeah, chat. A playoff game. A week 5 playoff game. Is there like a playoff game every week, I guess, that we have to sort of highlight? Maybe Giants Saints is a wild card game. I guess Broncos Eagles, an outside Super Bowl matchup potentially. But if we're going interconference, not I guess it would be like, what's the interconference non-divisional game of the week? So Tampa Seattle would be the one this time. But it definitely delivered. So yeah, I guess Ravens versus Bills would be interconference non-divisional game of the week. If we went for week 2, I guess I don't know if I can remember them all off the top. Maybe that would be last week. Ravens as well. Commanders Packers, at least from a competitive standpoint. Again, maybe looking back, that could be the interesting one. Oh, Broncos Colts. It would probably be Broncos Colts, honestly. Because, again, the Colts, with the way we look this week, just a dominant performance. Like, it does seem like, again, that consistency is still continuing for the regular season. And Denver, at least, is competing with all these teams. Again, even if today was, them actually getting a win as well, too. So, Indy chat, football math, Indy over Philly? Is that what we're saying? Steichen over Sirianni now? Daniel Jones over Jalen Hurts? How bad is it going to get? But, yeah, interconference non-divisional game of the week would be for week 2, Colts versus Broncos. And then week 3 would be, Eagles-Rams. Yeah, Eagles-Rams would fit perfectly. Both those two. Ravens-Lions would be, not interconference, but non-divisional for sure. And then, 49ers-Cardinals, interdivisional, kind of a fun game, even though probably not that well played. But Yeah, Rams versus Eagles was definitely a playoff level game, and the Eagles did win that one. So if we go to the other side of it, which would have been like we were saying, the non-conference, non-divisional game of the week. So maybe just the non-conference game of the week, because if it's non-conference, then it's obviously non-divisional. But the non-conference, the Super Bowl long shot game of the week would be this week, Broncos versus Eagles, and the Eagles lost that one, but won the interdivisional conference game of the week. So I guess whatever won the Seahawks lost today is tough. Rams Colts would be like the low-key Super Bowl from last week, maybe, as well. The Rams won that one, but lost the interdivisional conference championship game of the week. So I don't know. The football math is getting a little confusing. But the Commanders with the 10-point lead with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter here are looking like they are gonna close this one. I guess here. Wait, we gotta update real quick. Is the computer deceiving us? Okay, 3:01 on the ESPN, 2:57 on the red zone. So pretty close here. Definitely time for the Chargers to still, if they get a stop, I guess 2 scores. I was gonna say get the ball back and then score, but score twice? We're in onside kick territory at this point. And the Chargers with 2:57 have no timeouts left. Oh no, and the Commanders, this is getting worse. The Commanders are at the 11-yard line. So they're at least going to still make this a 2-score game, but a 2-touchdown game if they're able to convert the field goal here. The only hope would be chaos on a special teams play. That has been keeping teams in the games all year. They were, running some stats at the beginning of the Red Zone broadcast about how good special teams has been, not just, blocking field goals, but punt returns, punt blocks, kickoff returns, kickoffs in general, which is, now the adjustment to the new rules both ways. So special teams, at least the injection of, you don't want to say highlights, but the injection of the impact of the special teams back into the game has definitely been noticeable, as, again, they were pointing out in the stats at the beginning of the red zone. But it does actually now, like I'm saying, Bryce Young, it seems like he might be able to win games in fourth quarters. Like, I'm watching a game thinking now, like, chaos on special teams might actually be a reasonable thing to consider as an actual, like, hey, this might affect what happens still to come in this game. But as we approach the 2-minute warning, the Commanders are looking like they are in a good spot, and their run game, again, has at least been able to keep them with managing the ball here in the second half, because they have moved the ball down the field a couple times. I mean, so have the Chargers, and they just had a turnover there as well too. But the Commanders have definitely felt more just, barely keeping the game out in front than dominating the game. But Herbert, 22 for 29, though not pushing it down the field, 166, a touchdown and an interception. So a tough couple weeks for the Herbert people, like we're saying. I don't know if, I guess he does get criticized as well too. So I guess nobody's really criticism free in the NFL. Not even Mahomes at this point. But this is for the MVP stuff, and again, the quarterback talent stuff. People are just ready to have him jump over all these other people like Hurts, who have actually done things in the playoffs and had legacy moments in the NFL. It's like, okay, let's actually see not just consistency week to week, obviously, but just because you have good regular season games, again, doesn't mean that the legacy impact jumps up over some of these other guys as well too. In Hampton, not necessarily being able to continue in the run game from the early stretch of the game as well too. They just haven't given him the carries as well. They've definitely gone away from that here over the last 3 quarters. And I guess Washington's both run defenses pretty consistent here through the course of the game. We've got 162. I guess Merritt, here we go, 14 for 111. I was just, for some reason, just skipping and looking at Daniels and the McNichols and Rodriguez. But, yeah, Merritt, 14 for 111 and 2 touchdowns. He's been crazy. Okay, so, yeah, good there. But Herbert and Hampton. Herbert with 4 for 60 in that 41-yard run. I guess almost outgained Hampton alone on that one play. And then 4 sacks. Higgins with another touchdown. So, Cincinnati is, I guess the Lions also scored. So 35-23, Detroit defense, I'm sure, is not gonna, you can still have some film room moments to get yelled at as if you're a player by a coach, potentially. This is not a Dan Campbell, I'm sure, speech-free game here with giving up 23 points to Jake Browning, maybe even more, depending on what happens. But your offense dominates enough, of course, to continue to be comfortable. 21 in the fourth quarter, though, for Cincinnati. Hey, yo. Shout out, I guess, to the Cincinnati receivers for balling out as well, too, in the second half, because T. Higgins getting in the end zone that time, and then, like we said, Jamar Chase a little bit earlier as well. So Higgins, I guess, only 3 for 22 on the day, but still managing to impact the game there by finding the end zone. So the Titans have the ball with 52 seconds left. They are on their own 31-yard line. One timeout, but they only need a field goal to win the game. So this is a manageable situation if Cam Ward can settle down. Fires in the middle of the field, chat. He's got the tight end. Do they just burn the timeout right away? No, they're just casually getting up to the line of scrimmage. They can go a little bit faster here and spike this and maybe save themselves a play. I don't know. It doesn't look like they're going to run a spike, though. Cam Ward in the gun is going to take the snap 30 seconds as he drops back. That last time he made a quick read. This time he does sit back in the pocket and he finds, is that Ridley, chat? Oh, what a couple of throws by Cam Ward. Oh, chat, can Collinsworth call in? Here's a guy. Hey, yo. I mean, the pass to Okongwu down the middle of the field. I feel like now, I don't know if the league watched that Travis Kelce 13 seconds play a couple of years ago and figured out that that was how they wanted teams to operate at the end of the games and moving up the kickoffs and all the different stuff. But that play, again, with teams starting now at the 30, 35-yard line, you hit that guy underneath what is, again, used to be underneath and got you to the 35. Now you're at the 50. Now, if you're running after the catch in a good spot after that as well, too, you're to the 45, 30, 35-yard line on the other side of the field in field goal range after one good pass. So this time they go underneath, and then Cam Ward able to drop back and just one over the shoulder, again, good downfield to pass to Ridley. But it's first and goal all of a sudden. And the run play is able to push him closer as well. And, I mean, fortunate, unfortunate break both ways, but an Arizona injury means Arizona's going to have to take a timeout. And now Titans are going to save their timeout as well with 19 seconds left. That might be the best time management that Callahan has ever done, and unfortunately it's, not even him. So Bengals just attempted an onside kick. Maybe the onside kick is back. The onside kick is back. Cincinnati was close. It was close as well, too, to the 10-yard rule as well. I don't know if maybe they pounced on it a little bit early, but maybe Detroit got it. Maybe Detroit clutched it out at the end and was able to get possession here. We'll have to see. I don't know from the camera angle which way it's going, but I think it's Detroit's ball with the way Detroit players are celebrating. So it still was 11 points with 2:57. It's a little like Arizona would have needed a couple of more things to happen than just that. But again, the excitement of an onside kick being back as well, too, is fun. So 3rd and 5, if LA can hold them to a field goal here, again, 2 scores, 2 minutes, at least it's still a little attainable. Cam Ward, I was going to say empty set. No, they had it in the split screen there, the triple screen. Oh, chat! They take a knee, and they're going to set up for the field. Arizona, they're going to make Arizona use their timeouts. They're not going to try to score a touchdown. They're going to set up for the field goal. I mean, you're inside the 5. So, it's an automatic. It's not like, well, should they try to get more yards? He should make this kick outside of it getting blocked. Again, special teams chaos. We can't take it off the table, for sure. I'm not at all. But maybe that's why I'm saying, should you try to score for the touchdown? Maybe you tush-push. I don't know if, Cam Ward has had a little, maybe again with the turnover stuff. I don't know if you just think he's going to fumble there or something. I don't know if this is good clock management or not by Callahan. I don't trust him anymore, Chad. So even the obvious decisions. But now because of the knees, you do work yourself back a little bit. So now you're going to be, I guess, 3rd and goal. They're going to be taking this snap from the 15-yard line. So you're probably going to lose. Do we have to double check this on the ESPN? I don't want to update the game feed and jump ahead and spoil anything. Okay, 16 seconds. Wait a second. I think we just picked the wrong game again here. Did that game go final? Oh, okay. No, wait a second. 14 seconds. 4th and goal. Are we going to spoil anything? Timeout, Arizona. 3rd and 9. But how many yards did they lose on this drive? Potentially 4-3. Yeah, so you're gonna lose 10 yards. You're 10 yards back on the field goal. Again, it's still a short enough field goal. It shouldn't matter, but it is at least something. And why not, if you're gonna force Arizona? If Arizona's gonna stop the clock, why not at least try to go forward on those possessions? I guess is my question. But we'll have to see what Nightcap says about it later. The touchdown to Deebo Samuel, though, should all but end the game for Washington over the Chargers. And now, I mean, it depends on what happens, obviously, tomorrow, Monday night, Kansas City versus Jacksonville. But that Chargers-Chiefs game starts to go into weird Week 1 result territory. And that could be Kansas City injuries, figuring stuff out. Maybe not weird Week 1 result, but maybe just outlier-ish result. In Kansas City playing better, and the Chargers, I don't know, traveling Brazil. I don't know if, again, there was some home field advantage there, actually. But Sly gets it to go, chat. Sly gets it to go. Tennessee is 1-4, and Arizona has allowed that to happen. Unbelievable, chat. They laid the foundation of some of those fourth quarter performances. The other teams have just not quite been able to capitalize. And it's incredible that Brian Callahan's Titans were able to. But I think that shows you exactly how bad the Cardinals played in that fourth quarter. That this game against Tennessee was the one that this was they were so bad that Tennessee was the team that they allowed to make the comeback win here. It's like the Saints, Rattler, and he's playing better as well too. Bryce Young is playing better. But geez, chat. 9-21 in the fourth quarter, and you are running in the end zone to make it 28-9, and you just know that once that type of play happens, the game is almost never the same for the team that type of play happens to. And again, Tennessee is actually able to get the win there. So holy cow, chat. Tennessee gets the win. The Commanders get the win. Detroit looks like they're going to run out the clock and get the win as well, too. There's still 2 minutes left in this game, but they have the ball. Oh, 4th and 14. Cincinnati's going to get it back, but they're still going to have to score twice. So we'll have to see. Cincinnati's going to outscore them 35-7 into the fourth quarter. Browning, chat. The new Frank Reich. I guess stay tuned after the break just in case. I guess stay tuned because we're going to still be here for a little bit. But just in case as well, too, that Detroit might drop this game. Does Detroit pull a Arizona, chat? Does Goff pull a Kyler? Is that a pause? I don't know. We'll figure it out during the break and let you know on the other side.
Okay, chat, we are back. Sunday night game is about to fire up, and they were interviewing Drake May. Well, not about to fire up, but you fire up a little bit. But they were interviewing Drake May. Sunday night coverage, I should say, is about to fire up, which is why they were interviewing Drake May. And as they're walking down the field with him there during the interview, it kind of dawned on me. We were talking about, hey, yo, chat. Hey, I guess, first week back into fantasy for the year, so maybe it's just on the brain. Pause for a little bit, but we were talking about the JSN pick and maybe Tampa defense a little favorable as well too. We'll definitely go back and check those matchups to see Jason's obviously been one of the best receivers in the league so far, so it's not like, oh, is this a favorable matchup for him, but was it a little extra favorable? We'll see what the odds of his maybe performances not matching this going forward would be. But again, as Drake May is approaching the field here, and depending on what happens tonight, maybe the trade is Josh Allen. Do I trade Josh Allen and try to get JSN back, knowing that I could make Drake May my starting quarterback? And it could be potentially 95% of the same type of fantasy stuff. Because he's been efficient. He's not turning the ball over. So I know at the end of the day, I guess Josh Allen scoring 4 touchdowns a game. If Drake May scoring 2.5, I guess 2, a game is still pretty good. And then some of the rushing yards on top of it. So yeah, 2.5, it's like every couple of games getting a third touchdown in there maybe. But I don't know. We'll might have to see, because I know also Josh Allen is a tempting fantasy quarterback. So I guess who is Mahomes? The team that has JSN also has Mahomes, who, name-wise, you're like, I guess I don't need to trade Mahomes. But if Josh Allen's the quarterback, then maybe you just say, oh, well, screw it. I'll just take Josh Allen. But has Mahomes been, where's he been at fantasy-wise? Ooh, he was pretty good last week. And I guess week 1 as well, too. Our scoring in this league is weird. So last week in this league, he had 52 points. I don't know if that's just a normal ESPN league total for this year. But in week 1, he had 51 as well, too. So I guess comparatively for however in your leagues it scored, it probably is all still kind of similar. But yeah, a couple of good weeks in there for sure. But not the consistency of Josh Allen, though. Josh Allen, I guess, hasn't quite had that high level of performance yet. Like, what was his total number 1 game in this league? Oh, never mind. He had 73 in this league in week 1. Hey, yo, 73. Yeah, what's the scoring for this league? This is crazy. But, yeah, anyways, I guess we'll just have to see what the moves are to be made. Maybe Tuesday's episode will be us trying to figure out a trade for JSN. Who knows? But other early game action that we haven't mentioned yet, I guess we haven't mentioned Colts, Raiders officially. And if you had told me that going into the season there would be a game this year with the Colts and it would be 40-0 and Anthony Richardson would be checked into the fourth quarter, I'd have been like, chat, I knew it. Daniel Jones was not the right choice, but it's actually the other way around. It's actually the Colts were up 40-0 and Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson checked in because the Colts were dominating. And I didn't even see what Anthony Richardson's stat line was yet in the fourth quarter. Just a couple of minutes. Oh man, hopefully it was okay, chat. Hey yo, 1 for 2 for 9 yards. Okay, I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know how good that incompletion was, or how easy this 9-yard pass was. But Taylor with the hat trick of touchdowns with the 3 was an awesome fantasy day, of course. And the Colts defense was able to create a couple of the short fields. And they had a pick 6 of Geno as well, too. Geno with 2 picks. I mean, when he rips a good pass, he looks confident and it looks good. But his decision-making, play-to-play, of course, has just been a little too erratic this year. And it's resulted in turnovers, and turnovers leading directly to points as well, too, for Indy. And I don't know, no fumbles for Vegas, but those 2 picks were definitely killers. And one of them, again, ended up being a pick 6. And then Abdullah got a rushing touchdown late, too. That's right. So if Taylor just gotten a random 4th touchdown, it would have been an all-time fantasy day to start. But Daniel Jones, once again, 20 for 29, 212, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I can't say complimentary things about him now because at this point I don't even want to jinx us. But, I guess our regular season is just going to be really good, Chad. So I'm not even going to start letting myself think about the playoffs because, again, it is Daniel. What are we talking about here? He's not going to be a good playoff quarterback too, right? So at the end of the day, we gotta just sit back, enjoy the games as they happen, and if he does prove himself in the playoffs, then the Colts made a miraculous move. And if it's a good regular season, then guess what? This is all overachieving. I don't know if we're just now, if Arch Manning's not going to be the number 1 pick, I don't even want the number 1 pick, Chad. It doesn't even matter. Nobody else matters. We just want Arch Manning. That's it. Or
I guess who else was rising up the list this year? Mendoza, Dante Moore. I guess we like them all as prospects. Do we want him to quarterback our franchise? That's the last step. So maybe Steichen's selling us on all these guys, chat. Dante Moore and Steichen's system. Hey, it does count. It does sound kind of tempting. But again, Daniel Jones, obviously a proven commodity at this point in the Colts offense for success. But again, this type of go out, lay the smackdown pause type of performance is like the Colts have legitimately been the most consistent team in the AFC. I guess outside of the fact that the Bills haven't played yet. The Bills have, I feel like because of expectations, their 30 points per game has been a little bit different than the Colts' 30 points per game or whatever. We didn't expect the Colts to be good. So the fact that they're still playing as good as the Bills is, I guess, it's like, okay, they're awesome. And it's like, oh, the Bills, what is happening? They're playing as good as the Colts this year. But they are, second in points per game offensively. So their defense, I guess, is still, of course, really concerning. And I think the Colts defense is better than the Bills defense. It really just becomes, again, how good Josh Allen is individually at powering the team and overcoming the different discrepancies. But offensively, they've been as consistent as any other team in the league. So where were the Colts going at points-wise into this game? Here, let's see. Can we go 20-25 Colts and just go right to the page? Perfect, chat. Fourth. So, yeah, I guess points per game-wise, they have even been a slightly better, though. 11th in points against versus 22nd for the Colts is obvious, or versus 22nd for the Bills is obviously a little bit of a discrepancy. I guess, simple rating system, they've got us as the 5th best team in the league. They've got the Bills as the 14th. So, yeah, I know that Josh Allen's, they're obviously not saying he's the 14th best quarterback, but Josh, I think, did we say that? We said that about Lamar, that if Lamar was on the Colts this year, I do actually think, and Josh, I think if the Colts had that, hot take, I guess. Okay, chat. Can we get the camera out? Where's the TikTok camera? Let me see. Stephen A. better here. Send this one to ESPN. If the Colts had Josh Allen, we'd be competing. Hey, chat. Hopefully we don't, burn the NFL community down with that take. Hey, it is, but you get what I'm saying. I think we have a really good supporting cast. I don't know if you put Josh Allen on. I guess is that the test, chat? And I guess because Lamar's hurt right now, we'll use Josh Allen as an example. That's the only reason we're picking Josh Allen over Lamar. Obviously, is not because Lamar is 1-3 at the start of this year. But if Josh Allen was on Tennessee, what are 9 wins? Like, is Josh Allen worth 8 wins? He might, chat. Hey, he's obviously that good. But like New Orleans, like if Josh Allen was on New Orleans, like is New Orleans an NFC Conference Championship team? I don't know. Josh Allen on Miami, like some of these teams might actually be good. Who knows? So I don't know. Maybe Chicago is not that great after all. But shout out to Bears fans. We're just picking them randomly. They'd be an NFC Championship team too with Josh Allen if he was their quarterback. Again, maybe it's just obviously how high-powered those top-end guys are in the league. But if we did a supporting cast rankings and we had to individually rank every team, I do think that we would rank the Colts supporting cast pretty highly, with the way that it's been a very balanced attack this year, and the receivers have stepped up as well too. That would have been probably the one just unit that in secondary, I guess, has been good with the addition to Bynum, and playing against Geno definitely helps. But yeah, again, I wouldn't have. I guess because the Ravens and Lamar is now hurt, the Ravens are kind of out. I don't want to say they're out of contending, but they are out. I guess we kind of had to say that, and it's just because I think that Lamar is not out for the year. So I guess, Lamar being back, I don't know, is he going to win like 5 in a row? It just depends on how bad, I guess, like we're saying, it goes, and then what their decision would be, according to that. But if we're just judging Kansas City based on up until this point in the year, then the Colts have been more consistent than Kansas City. And I guess now that the Commanders, but yeah, they of course got the win over the Chargers. But now that the Chargers have looked a little bit tough over the last couple of weeks, like you kind of got to say the Colts are the 3rd team in the AFC. And again, week to week they've been better than Kansas City. It is what it is. Sam, call in and defend your Chiefs. He did say he was going to give us a ring during chat. Do we have to check? Let me see. Is he calling in? Hey, okay, he's not. The man definitely needs to be enjoying himself. But if he calls in, make no mistake. We're taking the call. It is what it is. Shout out to the honeymoon. But we're accepting the Zoom chat. It is what it is. So, let's see. We've got. I cut that out. But we've got the Chargers. of course, seem like they're going in a little bit of a different direction here. So it's like, are the Texans going to bounce back and their defense continues to play really good? And the Chiefs, like we're saying, just continue to separate themselves. And then there was one other team Denver would be the other one. Would this be the game if Bo Nix continues to trend in the right direction? Would this be the game where they would show themselves as they could be a top tier AFC team as well? But I think maybe not a hot take. Again, 5 weeks in, maybe Colts fans, just because of jinxing it, we don't want to admit it, and we don't want to start getting our hopes up with a Daniel Jones led team. It's like at some point, is Daniel Jones going to be the guy that New York was warning us about? The report on this guy is not great, but these games have been awesome. Like, what's happening here? Did they say is this a Trojan horse, or is this did we just find the ultimate, like, I don't want to say discount because I don't remember what his contract is, but did we find the ultimate sort of reclamation project here? And again, I guess ultimate is a little strong as well. But did we find a really awesome value here in what the Giants let go? Or, again, is it sort of a false start to the season? But it does not seem to be that. And the consistency has definitely continued to be there. And like I said, the schedule seems to be favorable for the rest of the year as well, too. So I don't know if they're actually going to compete in the AFC playoffs on a Super Bowl level and trustworthiness like Josh Allen and Mahomes. But there might not be too many teams in front of them that they have to, be better than as well, too. And if those are the only couple of teams, and it's like, they only have to play one of those guys, you start getting into you never know territory. So we'll, I guess, just not get our hopes up. But if we're being objective, I guess, and I'm being honest, like my Colts fan side of me is still very pessimistic about it. It's still definitely not getting my hopes up of like, there's just no way that this team is going to win more than 2 playoff games. But the objective side of me, I guess, is thinking like the supporting, you would have, if this team was in the NFC and you were not looking at it, if you were looking at it as an outsider, you'd probably be looking at the roster, the way it's playing around Josh Allen Daniel Jones, and the way that he has been consistent this year with Steichen, and probably believe in that in a regular season way in some type of degree. So, I guess balancing both those things for the Indians is obviously going to be impossible. But, I think it's definitely not a lie to say that they've been consistent, and I don't know if we're necessarily sitting here saying that they're a great team as well too. Obviously, we're saying they're a really good supporting cast that is playing really well this year. So, again, it's resulting in wins, and we're handling ourselves against teams that we should be, but that is important, and some of these other teams are not necessarily doing that as well. But shout out to dominant performance. And, the Raiders, unfortunately, again, worst team in the league. Rankings, they're going to be right up there, I think, because of the top-end talent that they have. Crosby showed himself in that Bears game. He's making incredible plays. No Brock Bowers today, but Ginty had a special game a game or two ago. And they didn't have one of their tackles as well, too. So definitely down a couple of important players. Early in the game, it was like, hey, Brock Bowers, Ewing theory. But, obviously it spiraled into a little bit of a different thing. But they are going to be right there, obviously, in the top of the draft going into April. And the Pete Carroll thing gets really interesting because you brought him in as a culture rebuilder guy. And, again, you're going to have a high draft pick. I guess right now, like, Tankathon's got him with, like, a tackle. I don't know if you're – and I guess Geno as well, too. Maybe you're blaming Geno more than Pete Carroll. I don't know. But either way, both those guys I guess you brought in as, like, veterans of their respective spots and, veteran coach, veteran quarterback, and maybe not the 10-year option, but instantly can inject a little bit of professionalism into the team, and you can build up some of the supporting cast stuff. And then if you do move on, when you do move on from quarterback in a couple of years, maybe you still have a great coach to continue to bring in a younger quarterback, or hey, you just have a great supporting cast for a new coach to want to take over and a young quarterback to thrive in early in his career. But, and again, that's still a long ways from building that supporting cast as well, too, but they don't necessarily seem to have the coaching and the quarterback play to elevate the rest of the roster like you would have hoped as well. But again, maybe blessing in disguise where it's like, okay, we build a supporting cast, but also we win 10 games with Geno and we're drafted. The draft is obviously, you have to just win the draft at your particular spot, and you can get great players anywhere. But being at the top of the draft, like we're saying, might actually be beneficial for them as well, too, to continue to add blue chip talent around the guys that they already have. Same with Cincinnati. All these guys. Like Carolina, again, they could add talent, but they just need to have a good year. So Cincinnati, they need to have a good year as well, too, but they also just need to get guys around Joe Burrow. So get up in the draft and get a lineman, and maybe it's been a couple of years, but still run it back again. But yeah, Cardinals, they need to have a good year. Patriots were top of the draft last year. They need to have a good year with Drake May training forward. All these teams that I guess are up in the draft. As the league is forming out, and again, I guess being 2-2, like there's still a lot of these teams that'll, filter out in different directions over the course of the year. But this is playing out kind of in a way that is okay, I guess, as a, objectively looking at the rest of the league. Like, as much as we like Burrow and Chase in this offense, I don't think, and we thought maybe it could be fun fantasy play. I was going into the season thinking, hey, do I trust that unit of those guys, a lot more than some of these other AFC units? And clearly the offensive line was so detrimental that was not the case. But, they are not a team that we thought was going to make a Super Bowl run. So the fact that they could, again, reload, the Ravens could reload, the Raiders could be able to get a guy. A lot of these AFC teams, I guess we don't want the Colts to have too tough of a challenge. A lot of AFC teams, all AFC teams at the top until you get to the Giants at 8. I guess the Saints at 5, and then the Giants at 8, and then the Panthers at 10. So 7 of the top 10 teams are AFC teams. Shout out. That's why the Colts are. That's what I'm saying. This is why the Colts are good in the AFC this year. I don't know if we're a great team. Again, the history of the league. But with the way the AFC is just kind of poo-poo this year, I mean, we're definitely playing pretty good. So with the way that Denver competed against Philly today, again, the path is definitely opening up for them as well, too. And unfortunately, I guess, fortunately for us, because we like Mahomes, and fortunately for us, because I guess, we like Sam as well, too. So if his team wins, it is what it is. But, it's like, it's not like it hasn't happened in the past, so we're a little used to it at this point. But, I guess the path is opening up for them as well, too. Positive. Buffalo is the one team standing in their way. That's going to be an interesting conversation. I don't know if Chiefs fans are going to be scared about that as well, too. But again, still, week 5. And maybe the Patriots. Maybe the path is clear for the Patriots. If Drake May is one of the best players in the AFC, like legitimately, you never know. At least playoffs could be a potential. I know 13 right now, but still, it's not a large degree of separation from them. If they win tonight, they would have a better record than the Chargers. So it'd obviously be a better win than the Chargers have had this year. I guess a win over the Bills versus the Chargers win over the Chiefs. Who knows? But it'd be they would definitely validate them as well too. So it's not like it's just a win in the win column. But either way, chat. Hey yo, I guess we did mention Dallas Jets as well too, because really the garbage time was about all that was going on in this game. Dallas without CeeDee Lamb, again, Dak has looked really good. So I guess maybe MVP stuff for Dak. I don't know if the tie is actually going to help him there in that conversation. But Pickens again and Ferguson have been able to at least score. But I guess it was Ryan Flournoy, 6 receptions for 114. Hey, yo, chat. Sorry, got to reload on the water. But that is like I don't know if that's the sign of a great quarterback. I mean, maybe it kind of is a little bit. And, I guess other signs of great quarterbacks is also playoff success. So, again, Dak still's got a couple of boxes to check off there. But the ability to just have, and, Flournoy could actually be a good guy as well, too. So I'm not saying, Flournoy sucks and somehow Dak threw him the ball a couple times. But, just the random receiver is going to have a great day because the quarterback is still able to make the good reads and, find the open man and know where the defense is going to be able to be exploited at, like Dak Prescott can in the regular season. It's going to allow a guy like Flournoy to put up good stats, or whoever is, being the receiver there, because Dak provides that professionalism at quarterback. And, I don't know, would Eagles fans rather have Dak right now than Jalen Hurts? Like, imagine that, chat. Imagine all of the playoff that we've seen over the last couple of years. Like, do we have to go pull up the playoff stats? Do we have to just do we have to build a time machine and, not go fast forward in time? Imagine, chat. Build a time machine to prove Philly fans wrong. But, hey, yo, it's, it's getting there. It's getting there. But the trust that we just don't have for Dak in the playoffs right now, and maybe, again, his veteranism wins out at some point. The NFC, it just aligns in the right kind of way, but the way their defense plays as well, too. Obviously, Philly's defense maybe a little step up from Dallas's defense. But, imagine Philly fans go into their rival who just they have criticized for playoff success over and over again and being like, yeah, that's our guy, over a guy that's gotten you 2 Super Bowls and won you one. And I don't want to be dramatic, but it's not like Jalen Hurts can't be the greatest quarterback in the history of the Eagles franchise. Like, well, that's, this is like he's got a Super Bowl. Like, he's the only other quarterback with a Super Bowl in the Eagles franchise is Nick Foles. And Nick Foles, has not had the playoffs or no, the regular season success, obviously, that Jalen Hurts has had. And, he had a great playoffs. And I don't know if you're like thinking that now Jalen Hurts is just another version of that playoff run with, again, a little bit more high-powered offense in the regular season. But it's not that. It is like if one of those guys had actually gotten, if Randall Cunningham or McNabb or Jaworski, chat, but, if one of those other really good regular season quarterbacks that the Eagles had actually won a Super Bowl and continued that playoff success as well, too, because McNabb, of course, was in a bunch of championship games and was consistently winning a ton in the playoffs, just unfortunately, a little erratic at times in the but even in like the Super Bowl against the Patriots, of course, it was early in the game. There were some turnovers, but I think later in the game, he, of course, and Owens as well too, was excellent in that game. But he was at least feeding Owens, and I think his performance was a little bit better. I just don't remember if he had like a late turnover or something that was really costly on that. But he doesn't get talked about again with zero respect. So I don't know, no respect, chat. Right, the Rodney Dangerfield Player of the Year, Jalen Hurts. So I know it's a loss this week. This is not the week. This is the week you got to be uplifting the Broncos, and I feel like again we have as well too, saying that this is a week that proves, and I feel like we obviously need more consistency from the Broncos than just a good performance against a team that was at some point going to lose a regular season game. They weren't going to, I guess the Dolphins, have to pop champagne at some point in the year. So at some point they're going to break that streak. Like, that is, again, up there with some of the most impressive regular season stuff that we've seen. And just football stuff in general. I don't know where that ranks in football win streaks. Because I don't know where that Dolphins win streak starts crossing over in other seasons as well, too. But, again, they've actually proven that they're a championship team. We still need to see, of course, Denver, even in the playoffs, prove that they're a playoff team. But still prove that they can actually play like a playoff team, every week for a little bit of a stretch here. But, yeah, Jalen Hurts, chat, is... I legitimately feel like if we went to Eagles fans after this week, they would consider Dak Prescott over Jalen Hurts. And I think that there is I think what Dak has shown talent-wise, I guess, if that's the right way to say it, football. Like, again, we're Rem and Sam more pro players than we are anti-players. But, we're also pro Dak. But I think because of Jalen Hurts' playoff success, we would just still have to take Jalen Hurts and his championship abilities, championship mentality in these clutch moments. I feel like we still trust at the end of the day, and regardless if his supporting cast have been super talented or not. But it is what it is. You got to have those to compete in a championship, and you have to make the plays at your quarterback spot at the end of the day, and literally that's what he does in the playoffs. So and in the regular season as well too, the last 20 times just today, unfortunately a couple of penalties was able to hold them short. But again, for Denver as well too, as we flip over the calendar into October and into the later part of the season, and hopefully as Bo Nix gets confidence as well too. Hopefully we check the PFF rankings and he's not last. Chat. I don't know who we want to be last. Again, we're not anti any players, but we just hope it's not Bo Nix. It is what it is. That's that's a tough way to start the year. And he hasn't been the worst, because the thing is he hasn't been the worst quarterback in the league. He's just been a little bit off. He just needs to dial it in. And if Sutton is this awesome as well too, playing this awesome every week, then that's even another thing that is going to continue to power you through the AFC as well. But I guess, Houston, again, we got to keep an eye on them. I know Nico Collins got a touchdown, so there was some fantasy revival there. And they were so dominant in this game that, I don't know if you're going to rely on him to put up big stats if you're able to, have short fields and move the ball so easily. But, yeah, there was some good distribution here. Kirk, I guess you got 3 guys with over 50 yards. Higgins and Brandon Bates, with 23 yards. Xavier Hutchinson had 2 touchdowns on 3 catches for 18 yards. So, a real pro quarterback game. I mean, obviously Stroud's best game of the season, just looking at the stats, 23 for 27, 244, and 4 touchdowns. But, again, Ravens defense, we just can't take it seriously. It is, unfortunately for CJ Stroud, you're going to have more than one good game against the Ravens defense this year for us to say that the Texans this year are a competitive team. Can we look at this game and go, okay, there's a path for the Texans to be a competitive team again? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, even a couple of weeks ago when we were looking at some of the game reruns and being like, what's going on with Stroud here? It's like, we still obviously believe in what he can be, even if, it's like, oh, do we have to, maybe pump the brakes a little bit on at least some of the instantaneous stuff. But at least again for this year, it's a little bit of okay. That's a spark anyways for something that could happen. The run game, Woody Marks, I guess not necessarily going for like, 6. I guess maybe not having the Nick Chubb stat line is a little something because I guess Nick Chubb has been good this year. So I don't know if he's a little bit of like is he another Daniel Jones where it's like Nick Chubb has actually been good, but I don't want to say an injury, but just an age thing or something. Again, you just don't know. I don't know if he's a guy that you even want to have as your in a positive way, like for his own sake. Like maybe you just want to keep him around for the full season, have another guy. So Woody Marks obviously can be that guy, and Pierce got 7 carries as well too. So if Marks gets 3 or 4 more of those, then that's a possibility to increase some stats as well too. But their run game could use a little bit more pop if we're talking about them, of course, continuing to elevate forward as a AFC playoff championship type team. But of course, at least a confidence building step forward as well. But was Hamilton even in the game today? There were some injuries that were, of course, again, pretty detrimental for this Ravens defense. Some definite guys listed on the injury report. So yeah, again, we can't dig too much into this game. Though we do like some of these guys again that they've drafted. TJ Tampa, Malachi Starks, Nate Wiggins. I think they've even played well as well too. Alexander Van Noy shouldn't necessarily be a bad defense, but unfortunately, it is. Keaton Mitchell with the kick returns. I guess him back in the mix could be a boost back into the offense. I guess only 3 for 8 from an actual rushing standpoint. So the Houston defense really, again, locked in today as well, too. Henry, because I guess, again, Henry has yet to find sort of his explosiveness for the year as well. And Hill has been kind of valuable in some of the receiving stuff. I guess really not today. But Mitchell, maybe if he's able to hopefully provide some explosiveness in the run game, could help balance that back out a little bit. But I think that's pretty much, I guess, Saints, Giants, we haven't mentioned yet as well either. And, Dart looked good earlier in the game. Unfortunately, the wheels came off in the second half and in the fourth quarter especially. He looked really rough. Yeah, 2 picks were not good. But his mobility was obvious as well, too. 7 for 55, and that's not something that I don't think it was not in the scouting report for him, for the people that were really paying attention. But I guess I didn't necessarily think of him as a super mobile quarterback. I don't know where he falls in the ranks type yet, because, again, he is an efficient runner. So you look at his stats, and it is a little, it is in an upper tier of rushing quarterback, where you would think of him as like a Jaden Daniels, Lamar, are they running run plays for him? And maybe they are a little bit. But, and maybe, Drake May, I guess, is maybe a more fair comparison. I don't know. But there is a little bit of like I don't want to say a clumsiness to his running, but it does look like he is always falling forward when he runs, and somehow he's just picking up like 11 and 12 yards every time. So, I don't know if it's Rodgers or Alex Smith, but it's a guy that, because Alex Smith was actually running. So it's a guy that's not actually running down the field, but still somehow picking up 12 yards. Like even Mahomes. Like Mahomes will have times where it's like, okay, are you still trying to pass, but you're like 6 yards in front of the line of scrimmage with the way you're running around? And then somehow, again, he'll find himself in a 15-yard gain. But Dart will be like ready to take a hit at the line of scrimmage, and then all of a sudden there's a hole, pause, and now it's like Dart's got to run, but he still doesn't change his running style, and he's now picked up the first down and is into the secondary, and now he's actually taking contact. But, again, it's working. So he does have a little bit of a way to move the offense there with his, and create plays if he does need to extend stuff. But still as a passer, making the reads and, just his overall accuracy as well, too, needs to improve because really, you see that Dayball doesn't really let him do anything for the most part. And I think, again, the wheels kind of came off in the second half when they kind of maybe tried to open it up a little bit. We'd have to go back and actually, I guess, watch the tape for that one. More so than just some of the red zone stuff that was happening. The Bills with their special, are these the rival uniforms? The silver ones? We got a silver bill on the helmet? Because I thought they were supposed to have their red helmets this year as well too, and I don't remember if we've seen those or not. Maybe we have. But yeah, I mean the rival uniforms we've already talked about. You got to wear them both at the same time. I don't know why you just have each team pick a random day and only wear once, but shout out, they still look cool regardless, and it's a good colorway for the Bills to have as well. Though again, maybe some red outlining in there would be, or just some blue. I don't know, maybe taking all the color out is not ideal. But yeah, Rattler, like we're saying, continues to play better, and the Giants' defense has bothered some good quarterbacks. I guess Mahomes did get going against the Giants' defense, so maybe we're overrating the Giants' defense. Maybe we need to look into that. But their ability to generate pressure, anyways, is definitely there. And Rattler didn't even get sacked today. So is everybody out there for the Giants? Burns play, yeah. Lawrence, we got I guess Thibodeau. Oh yeah, Carter on the tackle chart as well too. So maybe no. Oh, there's Thibodeau. So yeah, everybody played in the front. And the Saints, credit to their offensive line as well to protect Rattler and give him time. But there was a couple times as well too where he had to run around and extend plays, and he's been efficient. Didn't throw a pick in this one. So I don't want to say again the Saints. I don't know if they found a franchise guy, but this would have been This would have been a really interesting. If they were drafting a quarterback, what would happen? But again, looking at the draft, it's been tough for a guy to emerge so far. I guess, did they have him mocked with Mendoza? They did have him with Mendoza. And I guess, Dante Moore as well. We got to give Dante Moore some respect. They haven't quite. Tankathon has not given him his respect yet. Maybe they just really want Pittsburgh to take him. And you start going through the list as well, too. You go, of course, the guys that have been invested in at the quarterback spot. And Dart, you start, I guess, once you go past the Raiders, so they could definitely, obviously, take Dante Moore. Probably will take a quarterback as well, you would suspect. But then you go Ward, Dart, Burrow. Again, Bryce Young, we'll have to see. I guess it's undetermined right now, just because he's also coming up on the rookie contract, I imagine. So, you'd have to make a call there. But Kyler, Stroud, May, Prescott, Stafford, that gets a little interesting. Williams, Daniels, I guess Stafford again. If the Rams have 2 first-round picks and they have Mateer as well mocked to them, so Mateer and Dante Moore from the NFL standpoint is definitely pretty interesting. But Mahomes, Nix, Herbert, McCarthy, Darnold, Prescott, and then Dante Moore. Obviously, if a quarterback's there, you'd imagine the Steelers would have to take one, if not trade up as well. I mean, the Rams, obviously their defense, we're doing draft coverage now. Hey, what do we make Shea? But we got the Rams with 2 first-round picks. They could just take a quarterback, and their defense is pretty stacked, even though they could use the secondary help as well too. But they could take a quarterback and then bulk up the rest of the team with a trade some pick, get some more picks in a trade when the Pittsburgh moves up to 18. And again, I don't know if they leap some of these teams here if they need to, but just to be safe, you sacrifice your future for John Mateer and move up to 18. Could be a move that they make, but not really a move that they would do. I don't think they're not really a trade-up type team. But I don't remember where we got off on that at. Something about the Saints. Oh, yeah, the Saints, them, Mendoza, again, has been really good. And we'd have to, again, sit down and really watch tape as well, too. But Radford's at least been serviceable. And, again, you start getting into that conversation of Mendoza might be a really good NFL pro. But if Arch Manning didn't, he had, speaking of the wheels falling off, the fourth quarter for Arch wasn't necessarily great in this last one. The first 3 were definitely more encouraging, for sure. And I think, I don't know if we pivot to Texas real quick, because I guess we have mentioned most of the NFL stuff. And again, this is kind of natural talking about some of these top tier teams, because the Giants, again, with Dart, I guess they're not going to probably pivot after year 1, but still probably be near the top of the draft. But either way, again, I think maybe a bigger takeaway from the Texas game, is what we meant to say, but a bigger takeaway from the Texas game is maybe the surrounding talent around Arch, and going, is Texas one of the top tier teams in the nation as well too? And I was listening to a little bit of the Ringer Tailgate live stream as well. That one is quickly becoming one of the shows that I will go to first, just in the sports world in general. But, and, almost to the point now where it's like, it's obviously a great show. So it's like, do I have to wait till after the live stream to listen to it? Otherwise, I'm just going to talk about everything they say. But to start with point 1 of their show, they were talking about, and maybe, again, it's just where Texas is at as a school. But I think it was a shout out, Joel Anderson, one of the guys on the show, was saying that, is Texas in that spot where we're looking at them going, are they one of the most talented teams in the country? Is there actually a supporting cast not around Arch that maybe we thought he was going to have? And, obviously the balance of Arch being an elevating factor, maybe not quite having that effect as well. But if he is going to be a guy that needs another year in college in a good team to continue to progress at quarterback, it's like, does Texas need to get a little bit more talent next year as well, too, to continue to help him out? But again,
feel like if NFL teams are looking at the 2026 draft or 2027 draft, I guess at this point, because the next draft is 2026. So if they're really looking at the 2027 draft for at least the quarterback class, anyways, as the real type of franchise guys, then maybe a team, I guess the point being, maybe a team like the Saints again with Spencer Rattler there, kind of proving that he can get some wins. Maybe they do draft a top end, another offensive lineman, continue to really bulk that up, or another receiver as well too. Like that's a team that does have skill guys, but with the way Mbuka has really elevated the Bucs, it's not difficult to say, hey, let's just continue to invest in there. I don't know if we have an Mbuka in this draft necessarily, but like we're saying, some of these edge guys, I guess, Ruben Bain's the obvious pick now for us anyways. And, it's just because we haven't necessarily watched enough of Clemson or Utah's offensive line. But Bain in the Saints front, of course, would just be an immediate injection of talent, or, maybe they don't continue to win a couple of games. Maybe the Browns do take a quarterback as well. I don't know if, they lock in Dylan Gabriel, but maybe Downs is on the board. And then all of a sudden you just got a great defensive player like him in your lineup instead of, again, like Mendoza. And who knows if Mendoza is just going to be a better NFL quarterback than Rattler. I mean, cut this out in 2 years and see what happens. Mendoza's winning MVP in his second year. But, I'm just saying as of right now, Rattler is obviously playing really well and continuing to get better, which is, I think, something that is important to continue to point out as a young quarterback, obviously a major possibility and not something that I think a lot of people have on the table for him. But, he's still doing it anyways. Pause. And Kellen Moore, continuing to, again, prove himself a pretty good quarterback coach. I don't know if game management, some of the stuff is always great. He had a weird challenge today, I think, on a play that was pretty obvious. I'm trying to remember if it was in that game, but I think it was. And, again, maybe some of the fourth quarter stuff if the game is close. He's not always perfect in handling that stuff, but pause. But he does seem to be, from a play calling standpoint, a guy that can, make a quarterback play pretty successfully. So look at this, Chad. We've got Steph Curry walking into the arena. Is he playing tonight? Preseason? Is that Seth? Honestly, are we getting the Currys mixed up? Hey, yo, we saw a post. I mean, shout out to Steph, of course, joining the Warriors, playing with his brother. We are just excited to see Seth still in the league. I mean, he's one of our guys, so shout out. But him being in the family team is even extra fun as well too, and they might actually really need him as well, which I don't know if even that makes it more scary. I don't know if it's scary that it'd been nice if they signed Seth Curry out of like a fun type of signing, but I think they might have actually signed him out of need. So, I guess Horford in the mix, if you just are able to put him in cryo and unfreeze him for the playoffs and able to get to the playoffs, then maybe he's impactful there as well. But yeah, maybe, I don't know if the Warriors can somehow go to the league and say, hey, can we just play the second half of the year? We'll work out a record in the first half of the year. Can we work with some of these teams that want to tank? Like, hey, I guess maybe Washington doesn't want to tank, but if there's some tanking teams in there, can we just, you guys will forfeit some games early. We'll forfeit some games against some good teams, and kind of we'll try to figure out a way to be like a 500 team at the middle of the season. Maybe we'll be that anyways, and then all our guys are healthy, and then Steph and Jimmy Butler and Seth Curry and Al Horford can try to take us to the playoffs. I don't know if the recipe is there, but LeBron and Steph in a preseason game. Hey, yo, Chad, maybe we should have brought tickets to this one, honestly. Could be one of the last times that they share a floor. I think LeBron's out for preseason, though, and I think maybe Luka was out as well, too. So, Bronny versus Seth, Chad, Curry versus LeBron, Curry versus James, obviously the matchup we were looking for there. And I guess what we were going to say is we did see a post about hopefully the grandmas don't get confused and buy the jerseys this year, because, of course, there's going to be a couple of different Curry options in the Warriors section. You're going to have the 30 Curry, but now also the 31 with Seth. So, the LeBron jersey, and I guess did they mix it up now with a senior junior thing? I think they might have. But is Bronny going to have to change his number as well? Was Bronny number 6? Because I was seeing stuff about, center Jalen Williams for the Warriors is going to be the last player in NBA history to wear number 6. But I thought Bronny was number 6 as well, too. So Bleacher Report's like, oh, wait a second. Wait, Bronny's not just only in the G League? I guess Bronny's on a 2-way contract, so Jalen Williams, full contract. Does that matter? Here, let's double check. What number is Bronny? Oh, number 9. Close enough. Does Bronny wear his jersey upside down? Is that how he gets away with it? I don't know. But yeah, so we got number 9 James versus number 31 Curry in this preseason game, and who knows, number 31 Curry might not be playing in a preseason game. He may need to save the minutes. But yeah, college football, again, fun week, like we said. I guess quarterback class still a little interesting, but Simpson
continued to show out in Alabama in the second half, pulled away from Vanderbilt, which Pavia, unfortunately, I got to say, unfortunately, the knee thing did not work out. I know that, I don't know if we're invested in DeBoer because Michigan won against him in the national title, so we kind of like him. But, maybe we do kind of want him to turn the storylines in Alabama around a little bit. And I do kind of like Ty Simpson as their quarterback. But Pavia practicing the kneel down before the game is one of the most elite things I've ever seen. So I was kind of hoping that they won the game just so that could be a full circle moment. And, Manziel there on the sidelines is Pavia's mentor is Johnny Manziel. I mean, it's just this is awesome stuff, chat. Hey, yo. I mean, who does that? But, it's Ty Simpson, actually. The guy that didn't have Johnny Manziel as his mentor actually won the game pretty decisively. So shout out to Ty Simpson there. But, again, Lagway, in a game against Arch where it's are both these quarterbacks just going to show how disastrous this is? Lagway actually played better, and maybe that's the Texas defense thing again. But he's also a 2027 draft guy. So I know Florida, they're unranked playoff team this year. They were, are they a sleeper national title team? Sleeper in the SEC. But if Lagway just continues to take step forwards, again, that's a win, much like the Arch Manning situation. And they did have, I think, a little bit more success in the run game in this one. But, some of those Arch turnovers were pretty deadly. And obviously Lagway not having those is, much bigger progress for him over the last couple of games. But he still seemed pretty sure and confident in a lot of his throws. And I know there's been some talk about maybe the receivers haven't necessarily helped him out as well, too. And again, I think Arch, you start looking at his receivers and you're like, I don't know how highly I'd rank this group necessarily in the landscape of college football. But again, who knows if quarterback play is elevating them as well, too. Okay, he did have one interception in this game. But, 8 for 11 for the running backs for Texas. We have 8 for 11 and 2 for 4 for Ryan Niblett. Christian Clark, 1 for 0. I'm like a receiver on an end around. Just getting blown up, probably pause. But, Florida at least able to control the pace in the second half. Just running the football there. Was able to get the win. Michigan, another tough win against Wisconsin in the Big Ten. The run game continues to dominate. Hayes just is in that lineage of running backs now. 19 for 117, 2 touchdowns. And again, it was a little bit of a, pause a sloppy game for Michigan. Even in a win, the type of game where you're like, okay, Sherrone Moore, you want to make sure you have the guys as locked in as possible in this one. But he had a moment in the interview where he was talking about was it a 100-yard rusher? He was like, we were able to keep our streak of a 100-yard rusher alive, but we broke our streak of 50-yard run. And I was like, but Hayes had that run down the sideline, so it had to be close. But 43 yards, and for him to obviously just be locked into that type of stuff, I mean, it's like, oh, what's he focused on the wrong stuff? But I like the competitiveness on the little stats as well, too, where he's like, oh, man, we're trying to even get the run game so dominant where we're getting a 50-yard rush every single game. And for them to still have a big play that's just like, okay, we're still not even keeping that streak alive. And, even in a win, it's like, oh, that's still a thing that's bothering him. That extra level of competitiveness did, sell me back in on him as a top level head coach as well, too. I mean, obviously he's proven to be a good head coach, but is he going to be a head coach that can continue to keep this team, competing against Ryan Day, obviously the main guy in the Big Ten? Because you can't really say James Franklin anymore, unfortunately, because of the UCLA game did not go as planned. The jokes are, of course, the fact that they have only lost to good teams before, and now they decided to go ahead and lose to a bad team. But, at least Nico was Iamala, the quarterback for UCLA, of course, was one of those guys in the Arch Manning class that was highly rated. So I don't know if we just really butchered that class. But some of the talent around some of the situations that they've gone into have been really butchered as well. And him running the ball, 16 for 128 and 3 touchdowns. I mean, Jalen Hurts 2.0, chat. Nico in the 4th round. I don't know. The Eagles maybe pay attention. But with their changeover in coach and maybe just new vibes as well, they, of course, at least, had a surprising performance at one point in the season and overachieved. Having an overachieving moment, again, after the way the season started, is a win at some point. And, for Tennessee or for Penn State to be on the other end of it, Nico's old school. I mean, maybe they're on the other end of it a little ways with him having a good performance, but their guy Joey, of course, is playing pretty well as well too. But the Drew Aller stuff, of course, becomes a little bit concerning after this one. I mean, he was in that Oregon game, but to follow it up with this is, of course, not great. And the running backs, I don't think have been in the conversation this year, maybe the way we thought. We thought that would be one of the most dynamic skill groups in college football. And 37 points overall, obviously. The offense is still able to produce. The defense, giving up 42, is the more concerning thing. But regardless, it does just, raw stats, looking at it, pause. It is a little underwhelming as well, too, to figure out how they even got to 37 in this one. UCLA is scoring or probably turning it over. What, to give it back? Yeah, so we do have a fumble from Nico. And did he have no turnovers, though? Or no interceptions, anyways. Is good. But, yeah, maybe we can buy some stock back on him because make no mistake, I think we had to kind of sell off a few shares as well, too. But, yeah, otherwise, for the college landscape, I mean, shout out to Rocco Becht for an amazing run so far this year, but they unfortunately fell to Cincinnati. I was starting to consider if he was hovering around those double-digit odds, and maybe it's just like, okay, if he never increases in the Heisman odds, then maybe he's not going to win. But if it was just so much chaos at the top and these teams keep shifting around and, Ohio State just kind of balanced where nobody's going to win. Like, maybe Ohio State just has such a good regular season where somebody has to win it over there if they're, like, the only undefeated team that we have. Hey, yo. If Sharon Moore doesn't, pull another one, pause out, and take down Ohio State. But, if they just become so dominant that somebody has to win it. Otherwise, again, Ty Simpson is the second guy, and he still has a loss in the beginning of the season that is a little bit shaky, which means, he's at least one more shaky-ish performance, or at least team result performance, from maybe not necessarily snagging the award. So if Rocco Becht is like, wait a second, why is Iowa State undefeated and Rocco Becht just is like a two-way thing and is just like 50 touchdowns on the year or something crazy, then maybe he would have been in the conversation. But that loss, and I guess this is Kent State, Oklahoma. Ayo, where did that Iowa State game go on the scroll here? Oh, here it is. Iowa State versus Cincinnati. Yeah, and he still had a good stats game as well, too. So maybe you look back, if they still have a good record, and go, okay, his stats maintained over the course of the year. But it would have helped if they, again, would have been, a majorly successful team as well, too. But, again, they still might. So we can't rule it out. But it did take a little bit of a step back this week. And 2 rushing touchdowns, but 12 for 17. I guess he made up for the yardage with it through the air as well. So, again, he continues to be an interesting guy to monitor from a draft standpoint as well, too. But I thought maybe there was some sneaky Heisman stuff that could potentially start to emerge with him. And then Alabama dominant over Florida State. Florida State after the Virginia loss, and I guess they did have 19 in that fourth quarter against Miami. So a little concerning there for Hurricanes fans, for sure. And maybe Florida State, you're going like, okay, that is more like it in the fourth quarter, and this is just a bad stretch of football for us for the season. Maybe the 12-team playoff, if they run through the rest of the AFCC. I don't know if they can win the AFCC at this point because they are 0-2 in the AFCC, so that would be tough. Hey, yo, they might be out of the playoffs. That could be a detrimental loss, and that would be more the Virginia loss as well, too. Again, losing to the number 3 team in the nation is not the worst thing in the world, and maybe the number 1 team in the nation at some point if the rankings continue. Here, let's go standings real quick. But again, like even Virginia, they're a game behind them at this point, at least. So, let's go ACC. Only North Carolina is giving teams hope at this point. But, North Carolina's only 0-1. So, Florida State at 0-2 is even below them in the ACC at this point, even though overall, of course, they are a better team. And Boston College at 0-3 in the ACC is tough. We were kind of sneaky like in that Boston College quarterback. But they have been a little bad, so we haven't necessarily watched the last couple of games. But that doesn't mean we should give up hope, because bad team doesn't always mean bad quarterback at some point. But Miami only at 1-0, still needs to get going. Virginia at 3-0 in the ACC, maybe that's not a bad loss after all. But again, maybe they're the sneaky next team, and maybe it's Virginia, Miami in the ACC championship game, and it's one of those not bummer scenarios, but sometimes you get a conference championship game, I guess, where both teams can get in the playoffs, and maybe it's a one team in the playoffs type scenario. But maybe the 12-team playoff are writing off Virginia as well too. What's their overall record? 5-1. I guess they are 5-1. So yeah, I guess we should rephrase. I was just in 4-team playoff brain there for a second, honestly. So in a 12-team playoff, if their record continues, obviously, and if they were in the ACC championship game and won, I guess they would get in because they would maintain probably a pretty good record to get in the ACC championship game. So, Virginia, I guess, has kind of taken and I guess Florida State could have made, is that a weird thing where like they would have made the playoffs as like the 5th seed or missed the playoffs, and Virginia is going to make the playoffs more likely as like a 11th seed? Math maybe a little weird, but I think it does make sense at the end of the day. And unfortunately, Florida State, again, that was probably a deciding game and not able to get past it. So, I guess we'll see if Virginia is able to maintain a good record over the course of the regular season. But Sunday Night Football, chat, is about to get underway. Warriors versus Lakers preseason is about underway. So we gotta go, chat. We got things to watch here. Hey, yo, it is what it is. But we will be back, of course, Tuesday on the live stream. You can find us here, of course, on the YouTube, on the podcast feeds. The live streams go up as podcasts as well. Hey, yo, chat. Old school. We used to be podcasters, so we still got the podcast feeds going, and the DMs are open at REMINGTOM on Instagram if you want to send us a message over there. But the YouTube, of course, is the place to hang out over here. The live streams, you can join us Sundays during the late game window. Of course, you can join us Tuesdays. We're here Fridays, chat. We're on the YouTube. If you subscribe, of course, you can hang out with us whenever. Whoa, Aiden, we got a little dye job on the hair, braided Aiden, but also dyed haired Aiden. I don't know what the right nickname would be. But IT, let us, or DM us at REMINGTOM Pod. Let us know. Instagram is, DMs are open. So yeah, like I said, we'll be back Tuesday hanging out. I think we got a fun live stream cooked up for Tuesday, and we will be excited to see you guys here. Otherwise, go enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully your parlays hit for the Sunday night game. Hopefully, I guess maybe I trade Drake May for JSN. I don't know, but hopefully we get JSN before the next live stream. So we'll update you. Be back